Li Mei's Sword of Destiny. Chapter 1320. Today was truly a sunny day. At the very least, Qin Wentian felt this way. He inclined his head and stared at the sunlight before glancing at the devil gate behind him. All the gloominess had finally passed. Congratulations. Emperor Qianbian was the first to speak. Nanfeng Guhong's eyes flashed with a bright light as she cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian and Qing'er. Namhuang Yunxi of the Namhuang clan had a very good relationship with Qin Wentian. Even though Namhuang Yunxi was the holy successor, given the talent Qin Wentian displayed, the Namhuang clan could even make an exception and allow Namhuang Yunxi to marry him. However, Qin Wentian didn't seem to have such intentions. He preferred his childhood sweetheart, the daughter of the evergreen immortal emperor. Congratulations. Namfeng Guhong spoke. Qing'er, I wish you the best. GD smiled. Thank you, master. Qing'er bowed to GD. Many thanks to seniors. Qin Wentian expressed his thanks. At this moment, a wave of energy fluctuations gushed out from the devil gate. The gazes of everyone turned over, and after that, they only saw a powerful devil cultivator stepping out from the devil gate. It was actually an immortal emperor. This scene caused the eyes of all the immortal emperors to gleam sharply as they stared at the figure who walked out. This person was naturally the vast Sky Devil Emperor. His agreement with Qin Wentian hasn't ended yet. He promised Qin Wentian that he would guard the devil gate for a day, and Qin Wentian didn't disappoint him. However, what caused the vast Sky Devil Emperor to be shocked was that there was actually a group of immortal emperors before him. Waves of terrifying immortal might gushed over. Although the vast Sky Devil Emperor was a Devil Emperor character, he couldn't help but to shiver at this moment as he cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian. This fellow seems like he had still underestimated Qin Wentian's background. Qin Wentian had several immortal emperors by his side. If Qin Wentian wanted to back out, there was nothing he could do. This is Senior Vast Sky Devil Emperor. In the Myriad Devil Islands, it's all thanks to Senior Vast Sky Devil Emperor's care. Qin Wentian said. Immediately everyone understood. As expected, he had borrowed external forces, and he had the Devil Emperor as his protector. No wonder Shatian and the rest didn't come out. Killing intent erupted from the eyes of the immortal emperor of the Nine Emperors' immortal state, as a terrifying aura surged towards the vast Sky Demon Emperor. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor and the others felt the same as well. In an instant, the fallen Devil Emperor's body stiffened as he prepared to retreat at any moment. The adjudication battle has always allowed one to borrow external forces. The rules were set by both parties. Now that the adjudication battle has already ended, are all the immortal emperors here starting to vent their anger on others? Qin Wentian laughed. Chongqing the Great also spoke. Why? The adjudication battle has just ended and all of you are already planning to break the agreement? Senior Devil Emperor, please come over here. Qin Wentian spoke. The silhouette of the fallen Devil Emperor flashed, appearing beside Qin Wentian and the others as he glared at Qin Wentian. Luckily, he was someone from the Myriad Devil Islands. In the future, when he returns to the Myriad Devil Islands, these immortal emperors wouldn't be able to do anything to him. If he was someone from the immortal realms, he would definitely be in deep trouble. Even if he was a Devil Emperor, he wouldn't be able to handle it. Let's return. Qin Wentian spoke. Chongqing the Great nodded. The adjudication battle has already ended. Let's go. We can leave now. Emperor, you spoke. Let's go. Nanfeng Guhong also spoke. After that, the immortal emperors all left this place together. The vast Sky Devil Emperor also left together with them. Although the immortal emperors didn't ask much, since the vast Sky Devil Emperor followed them, it was clear that Qin Wentian had agreed to some conditions. If not, why would a Devil Emperor act for you? After they left, the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor and the others still didn't leave. They still wanted to wait for their people to come out. The expressions of the immortal emperors were all extremely unsightly. The White Tiger people spoke. Evergreen broke the agreement, ignoring the agreement between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom. Now he even betrothed his daughter to Qin Wentian in front of everyone. Can the Sky Mist Immortal Emperor endure this? From your point of view, what should my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom do? The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor calmly asked. Although they were temporarily allies because of the same goal, Their true relationship wasn't that good. Back then, the Evergreen Kingdom suffered heavy losses. Your Tenlon Heaven Kingdom is stronger than them, not weaker. Can't you act more domineeringly? The White Tiger people's voice was filled with demonic chi. You should have also seen that this battle is no longer a battle between my Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the Evergreen Kingdom. All the major powers are involved as well. Just GD alone is extremely troublesome. Now that the adjudication battle has been won, if we continue to act, we would only anger Emperor Yu. That old fellow has been in hiding for so many years. No one knows where he came from. To think that he is actually so powerful. If we want to touch him, we can only do so if the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the White Tiger people use their full strength to aid us. It isn't something that can be done with just 1 or 2 immortal emperors. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor calmly spoke. Clearly, he was unwilling and wanted to incite the White Tiger people of the 9 Emperors' immortal state to get involved in this. The eyes of the immortal emperors of the 9 Emperors' immortal state and the demon emperors of the White Tiger people flashed. If they truly wanted to get involved in this storm, it would no longer be a small matter. Even if they were immortal emperors, they wouldn't be able to make the decision. On the other side of the Devil Gate, the fallen Devil Emperor stared at the departing Vast Sky Devil Emperor. He instantly guessed that the Vast Sky Devil Emperor had an agreement with Qin Wentian. A trace of regret appeared in his heart. He might have missed out on something. Bai Qing stared at the Devil Gate as her beautiful eyes turned slightly moist. The time is up. She didn't know if her Wentian Gij has already left or not. After this separation, she didn't know when she would be able to see her Wentian Gij again. She hoped that Wentian Gij and Sis Qinger would be able to live in bliss. Turning around, the gentleness in Bai Qing's eyes vanished, only leaving behind the nobility and coldness of a priestess. Let's return. With a command, the Judiciary Army returned, leaving this place in an imposing manner. The fallen Devil Emperor cast a deep glance at the Devil Gate before turning to leave as well. That junior named Qin Wentian was most probably someone he, a Devil Emperor, would never be able to forget. After they left, there would still be devil cultivators coming here before they returned. Several days later, Huang Shatian and the others arrived at the Devil Gate. Staring at the Devil Gate, Huang Shatian could only sigh in his heart. He initially thought that he still had a chance to fight. However, when he saw the 2 Devil Emperors from the Judiciary Devil Hall, his preparations were completely ruined. Against the Judiciary Devil Hall, the helpers he invited directly gave up. With just himself, how could he deal with 2 Devil Emperors? This battle he lost without even fighting. Now, if he went out, how could he face the elders of the Immortal Empire? However, he still had to face all of this. Only by calmly admitting his failure would he have a chance to stand up again. Lifting his feet, Huang Shatian led his people towards the Devil Gate. They would remember the defeat of the myriad Devil Islands. In the blink of an eye, it has already been 3 months since the adjudication battle ended. During these 3 months, Qin Wentian reunited with his family and friends. The various immortal emperors also brought their juniors back to their sex and powers. The Sky Mist Immortal Emperor and the others seemed to have accepted their defeat. Everything was calm and peaceful. Only in the eastern regions, countless voices rang out. The fluctuations caused by the adjudication battle back then were too intense. In the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom, a heaven-shaking battle erupted. Immortal emperors descended and an emperor-ranked battle appeared. After that, the adjudication battle appeared, involving the major powers of the eastern regions. Right now, the adjudication battle finally concluded. It was rumored that the Evergreen Kingdom alliance led by Qin Wentian obtained a complete victory. When the deadline of 10 years was up, not a single expert from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom walked out. After that, the ruler of the Chongqing the Great officially betrothed the noble and beautiful Princess Qinger to Qin Wentian, completely ignoring the marriage agreement between the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom. The Tenlon Heaven Kingdom was defeated in the adjudication battle, but they had nothing to say. For a period of time, Qin Wentian's name began to circulate through the countless cities of the eastern regions. Many rumors about him also began to spread. For example, it was rumored that back then, Qin Wentian was someone from a particle world and was once humiliated by the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor. After that, he participated in the Dongshengshan Gate competition and obtained first place, rejecting the invitation of the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor to take him in as a disciple, choosing to join the Emperor Qianbian instead, slapping the face of the Eastern Sage Immortal Realms. Another example was that he obtained first place in the Immortal Ascension rankings in the City of Ancient Emperors, and headed to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace where his beloved Qing'er was from. At that time, no one in the same generation in the Evergreen Kingdom could stand against him. There were also rumors that he entered the Tiandao Sacred Academy, and became one of the most dazzling characters there, able to summon the wind and summon the rain, an unparalleled character. The Tiandao Sacred Academy symbolized the birth of an ancient emperor. Qin Wentian might very well be the next ancient emperor. There were also people saying that when he went to the Myriad Devil Islands to participate in the adjudication battle, he was able to summon the wind and summon the rain. There were even devil emperors who regarded him highly and helped him out. All sorts of rumors regarding Qin Wentian were countless, spreading throughout the eastern regions. This was especially so in the Cloud Prefecture city where the immortal Qianbian Gate was located, as well as the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. In the eastern regions, there had never been an immortal foundation character who could be as famous as Qin Wentian. After all, in the immortal realms, many immortal kings weren't known by others. Only immortal emperors would be known by others. Given how many immortal foundation characters there were, it was already considered not bad for them to be famous in a city. Qin Wentian, despite being at the immortal foundation realm, his fame had already spread throughout the eastern regions. This could be said to be a miracle, and many youths even set him as their goal, hoping that one day, they would be able to be like Qin Wentian, becoming a character whose name shook the world. Just at the immortal foundation realm, he could already roam freely among the immortal emperors. In fact, even the ruler of the Evergreen Immortal Empire would betroth his most beloved daughter to him. This was simply a legend in the annals of history. In addition, Qin Wentian was someone who originated from a particle world, adding color to this legend, making it even more inspiring. However, Qin Wentian wasn't that happy about his fame. The tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. Fame wasn't a good thing. This was especially so when there were some rumors saying that he might become an ancient emperor after the appearance of the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Undoubtedly, this would cause him to be in the eye of the storm. This was especially so since he had offended so many major powers. In fact, there were even a few immortal emperors who revealed their killing intent towards him when he was outside the Devil Sect. The killing intent of immortal emperors to Qin Wentian was an extremely dangerous thing. Chapter 1321. Right now, Qin Wentian was currently in the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. The Chongqing the Great has already announced to the world that Qing'er was betrothed to him, and he could already be considered the prince consort of the Evergreen Kingdom. It was only right and proper for him to stay in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Because of this news, during these 3 months, everyone in the royal capital was discussing it. Qin Wentian and Princess Qing'er could be said to be a perfect match, an immortal couple. Both of them had outstanding talent, were handsome and beautiful, a match made in heaven. This was especially so for the adjudication battle this time around. It was rumored that Qin Wentian was the core. It was him who caused the adjudication battle initiated by the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom to fail. No matter from which angle one looked at it from, there was no doubt that he was the best candidate to be the prince consort. Naturally, the fact that the Chongqing the Great was able to announce it to the world when he was only at the Immortal Foundation realm could also be considered to be extremely daring. To ordinary people, a peak-level Immortal Foundation might be considered a pretty good strength. But to the royal clan of the Evergreen Kingdom, it was extremely weak. Right now, the Chongqing the Great was in closed-door seclusion. During these 3 months, he learned that Qin Wentian actually possessed the sacred luminance, and used it to cleanse his and the Emperor of Qianbian's bodies. Naturally, there was also the vast Sky Devil Emperor. After that, the vast Sky Devil Emperor took the initiative to return to the Myriad Devil Islands. After all, this place wasn't his territory, and he didn't want to be embroiled in the storm of the immortal realms. The things he did for Qin Wentian have already been completed, and Qin Wentian had also been fulfilled. After the vast Sky Devil Emperor left, the Chongqing the Great and the Emperor of Qianbian naturally wouldn't spread the news of the sacred luminance. They were only preparing to enter closed-door seclusion for a period of time, doing their best to grow stronger. In the Evergreen Kingdom Palace there was a formation space. The formation space in the battlefield was vast and boundless. Qin Wentian was inside. In front of Qin Wentian, there was a middle-aged man with a dignified expression. Light flowed all over his body, enveloping the area around him. The light was actually the power of rules. Under this power, Qin Wentian felt that he could not lift his legs. They were extremely heavy. Try again. The middle-aged man spoke to Qin Wentian. His voice was like thunder, exploding into Qin Wentian's eardrums. Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed as he abruptly stepped out, causing the earth to rumble. His entire body radiated a terrifying light as the ancient halberd in his hand stabbed out. The shadow of a great rock could be faintly seen, wanting to tear everything apart. However, at this moment, a wall appeared around the middle-aged man. It was an incomparably resplendent wall formed from immortal law energy. With a thunderous boom, the ancient halberd pierced through the wall. The terrifying collision caused a shrill sound to ring out. Qin Wentian's attack actually managed to penetrate inside. But the strength of the law energy within the wall continued to grow thicker and thicker, pressing down on Qin Wentian. Boom! A huge force directly slammed into Qin Wentian, causing him to be flung through the air. Qin Wentian borrowed the force of the impact to retreat. His feet were a little unsteady as he landed on the ground. He stared at the middle-aged man and shook his head. I initially thought that the distance between me and immortal kings wasn't that far. Who would have thought that it would be so great? Haha, have you fought against immortal kings before? The middle-aged man asked. I borrowed the power of treasures and even killed immortal kings before. Qin Wentian nodded. No wonder you would have such thoughts. The treasures you borrowed are definitely extremely powerful, so powerful that they can directly break apart the law domains of immortal kings. The middle-aged man spoke to Qin Wentian. He then continued, however, fighting with one's own body and fighting with the power of divine treasures are different. Many people have the illusion of breaking through to the immortal king realm, but in truth, they aren't considered true immortal kings. At the immortal king realm, law domains would be born. The closer one is to one's body, the more terrifying the law domain would be. Qin Wentian frowned as he asked in bewilderment, but after reaching the peak of immortal foundation, there are already many people who have stepped into the gate of the immortal king realm. For example, those who participated in the adjudication battle this time around are all the same. Some of the more powerful characters have already immersed themselves in the adjudication battle for many years, and their comprehension of law domains are already extremely high. Since I encountered such people, I should have the ability to defeat them. But why can't I defeat immortal kings? He involuntarily thought of Huang Shatian. Characters like Huang Shatian were already extremely powerful. There were also those who participated in the adjudication battle, and there were also many who were extremely close to the immortal king realm. However, among these people, he and Huang Shatian were the strongest. This made Qin Wentian feel that he was already strong enough to fight against ordinary immortal kings. Do you understand divine inscriptions? That middle-aged man asked. A little. Qin Wentian nodded. When you inscribe divine inscriptions, you have to inscribe them step by step, continuously completing each step, getting closer and closer to the completed divine inscription. However, what is the difference between a completed divine inscription and a completed divine inscription? The middle-aged man gave an analogy. A look of enlightenment appeared on Qin Wentian's face. That's right, he was someone who cultivated in divine inscriptions before and naturally understood this logic. Before a divine inscription is completely inscribed, even if one was a step off, the difference could be said to be 1,000 miles. If this step was wrong, the divine inscription would crumble. It was the same for divine inscriptions' grand formations as well. Before the formation was completed, there was a limit to its might and there was no way to compare it. The middle-aged man saw the expression on Qin Wentian's face and knew that Qin Wentian had already understood. He smiled. It's the same for cultivation bases as well. Before taking that final step, no matter how far you walk, the disparity between you and a true immortal king is still too great. Only when your law domain is completed and your body of laws is born, can you be considered to have truly attained the immortal king physique. Countless wuxiu have never been able to take that final step in their entire lives. I've benefited from the guidance. Qin Wentian bowed. The middle-aged man smiled and nodded. Given Qin Wentian's status, there was basically no need for him to bow to him. However, this young man seemed to be an extremely senior. His talent was extraordinary, and he, who would soon become the prince consort of the empire, didn't have any arrogance at all. This was extremely rare and valuable. No wonder the evergreen immortal emperor would betroth the princess to him. Even if I don't explain such shallow logic, you will soon learn of it from others. I'm merely saying it first. Wentian, there's no need to be so polite. Let's continue fighting. I know you haven't used your full strength yet. I really want to see if you can truly threaten immortal kings in your strongest state. The middle-aged man laughed. Right. Qin Wentian nodded, his eyes flashing with excitement. After that, a terrifying storm of law energy gushed forth from him as his silhouette flashed. He rushed forward once more, clashing against the immortal king. For a period of time, the sounds of battle shook the sky. Although Qin Wentian still wasn't able to shake the middle-aged man, he was still able to hold on. But even so, this already caused the middle-aged immortal king to feel admiration in his heart. This was the first time he had seen such a powerful immortal foundation character. For the next period of time, Qin Wentian stayed in the formation space, clashing against different immortal kings. This was an order personally given by the Chongqing the Great. He wanted some of the immortal kings in the royal palace to fight against him, allowing Qin Wentian to personally experience what the immortal king realm was like. Such cultivation conditions weren't something ordinary disciples of major powers would have. Right now, the cultivation base before Qin Wentian was precisely the barrier of the immortal king realm. This was why the Chongqing the Great made such an arrangement. Today, another immortal king appeared before Qin Wentian. This immortal king was actually very young. Seems like he wasn't very old when he became an immortal king. Also, his demeanor was extraordinary, different from the other immortal kings he met before. He exuded a faint air of arrogance. His Majesty gave the order for immortal kings to spar against you. Before this, you should have already fought against several immortal kings, right? That young immortal king asked. Qin Wentian nodded. Fine, make your preparations. Since this is a tempering exercise for you, I won't show any mercy. The young man indifferently stated. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. What did he mean by won't show any mercy? However, he didn't ask. His aura gushed forth as he made his preparations for combat. Easy. A wind gusted by. In an instant, the entire space was filled with the law energy of wind. The silhouette of the young immortal king vanished from sight. Qin Wentian's aura frenziedly erupted forth. His eyes of truth flashed as he saw a gray figure moving unceasingly. Fast, too fast. Immortal kings borrowed the power of the law domain of wind to move. How terrifying would their speed be? Sword light abruptly gushed forth along with the wind, akin to a terrifying bolt of lightning. The law energy of wind was already fast and sharp. Now that the sword chi was infused within, what sort of speed and sharpness would it be able to reach? Qin Wentian was fully focused. The shadow of the divine turtle appeared as demonic chi revolved around it, gushing forth violently. Puchi! The shadow of the divine turtle was directly torn apart. That sword light broke through the defense and slashed towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian blasted out with God's hand before he managed to block it. However, that gray figure unceasingly stabbed out with his fingers. At this instant, the storm of wind that enveloped Qin Wentian actually completely fused with the sword chi. This was a storm that could kill. Qin Wentian's expression was extremely heavy. His entire body radiated an incomparably tyrannical aura as his flawless immortal foundation erupted forth. Countless ancient characters appeared on his body, suppressing the surroundings. However, the storm of wind was too sharp and intense. It continued tearing apart the ancient characters and continued on its way towards Qin Wentian. I have to break out of this encirclement. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Being surrounded by the storm of wind here, there was basically no way for him to fight. His eyes gleamed with light of truth as he rushed towards a location where the attacks were the weakest. A terrifying devilish light radiated from him, tyrannical to the extreme. Open a path. The god's hand shone with destructive light as it blasted out, destroying everything in its path. But at this moment a gray figure flashed. It seemed to be a human figure. The figure stabbed out a finger in the direction where Qin Wentian was trying to break out of. In an instant, boundless windstorms actually gushed forth from the finger, blasting towards Qin Wentian. Just as he was about to make his move, several figures suddenly rushed into the formation. "Stop! What are you doing?" A loud roar rang out, sounding somewhat frenzied. However, that attack still blasted out. Qin Wentian's energy was completely destroyed. The terrifying attack pierced into his body, causing him to be flung through the air as he coughed out a mouthful of blood. He only felt a destructive energy rampaging wildly within his body. The storm of wind dissipated in an instant. The young man laughed and stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He stared at the newcomer and spoke. "His Majesty instructed me to temper him. I'm only here to spar with him. What are you guys so nervous about? You have been in the Immortal King realm for so many years, and are already extremely proficient in controlling law domains. What cultivation realm is he at? The way you are fighting, you call it sparring?" The person who came was the Scarlet Eye Marquis, the husband of Princess Chongping. He was an old acquaintance of Qin Wentian. He was now berating the young man. "If you can't do it, why do you still want an immortal king to spar with you? Is there any meaning to it?" The young man didn't give the Scarlet Eye Marquis any face. He coldly laughed and directly stepped out of the formation. Chapter 1322. This fellow. The Scarlet Eye Marquis was somewhat unhappy. He stared at Qin Wentian, who was stabilizing his aura. "Wentian, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Qin Wentian shook his head. That young immortal king didn't seem to be very pleasing to his eyes. "That fellow's surname is Evergreen. This isn't an ordinary nobility. He is a relative of the Evergreen Immortal Emperor, and has always been arrogant. Let me report this to the Evergreen Immortal Emperor and punish him." The Scarlet Eye Marquis spoke. "So this is the case." Qin Wentian silently mused. He smiled at the Scarlet Eye Marquis. "There's no need. It's normal for one to be injured during sparring. It would be making a big fuss out of nothing to report to the Evergreen Immortal Emperor for such a small matter." "That's true. However, that fellow earlier clearly had the intention of targeting you. Before this, we didn't arrange for him to spar with you. He was the one who entered the formation. Clearly, he did so intentionally." The Scarlet Eye Marquis spoke. Although he was somewhat angry, he was merely saying it. It was impossible for him to really report such a small matter to the Evergreen Immortal Emperor. If he did so, it would seem that Qin Wentian was too unmagnanimous. Evergreen Yuhao's father is the brother of the Evergreen Immortal Emperor, and was extremely powerful. However, he died in the civil war back then. Hence, the Evergreen Immortal Emperor has always felt apologetic towards Evergreen Yuhao, and nurtured him wholeheartedly, sending him to various places to cultivate. When you were still cultivating in Tiandao Sacred Academy, he returned and has already broken through to the Immortal King realm. The Scarlet Eye Marquis stared at Qin Wentian. "He's targeting you. I guess it's because of the engagement between you and Qing'er." Qin Wentian nodded lightly. "Let's go out and chat." "Right." The Scarlet Eye Marquis nodded. The group of them walked out of the formation. The others stood guard at the entrance while the Scarlet Eye Marquis and Qin Wentian headed towards the direction of Princess Chongping. "How do you feel after sparring during these few days?" the Scarlet Eye Marquis asked. "The path of cultivation is long. I can only take it step by step." Qin Wentian smiled. Given your terrifying foundation, once you step into the Immortal King realm, ordinary Immortal Kings won't be able to compare to you. It's easier said than done. Stepping into the Immortal King realm is still a long way off, and I don't even know how long it will take." Qin Wentian sighed. "Why do you say that? You are improving every day, and your comprehension of the laws is also very strong. Sooner or later, you will enter the Immortal King realm. Although others might need a very long time, I believe it won't take too long for you." The Scarlet Eye Marquis was very optimistic about Qin Wentian. In the Immortal Qinbian Gate, it's said that Senior Bai Wuya has already cultivated for 8,000 years. In addition, Senior Bai Wuya's talent can be considered extremely good. I wonder how long it will take for me to step into the immortal king realm. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. I've also heard of Bai Wuya before. Although he has cultivated for over 8,000 years, his current cultivation base should already be at the peak level of the immortal king realm. In that case, when he steps into the immortal king realm, the amount of time he would need would be far from being as exaggerated as 8,000 years. You must know that after reaching the immortal king realm, if you want to take another step forward, the amount of time required would far surpass the total amount of time you spent cultivating in the past. The Scarlet Eye Marquis replied. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. Senior brother Bai Wuya should have already walked very far in the immortal king realm. Tens of years ago in a particle world, he killed the Deep Flame Immortal King, a subordinate of the Dongshang Heaven Emperor, on the spot. At that time there was a battle between immortal kings, but senior brother Bai Wuya single-handedly turned the situation around. In addition, Bai Wuya's speed of cultivation is only in comparison to ordinary immortal kings, right? I know that some of the strongest geniuses from the peak powers have extremely terrifying cultivation speeds as well. As for you, you have already surpassed those geniuses of that level, and your good fortune isn't bad at all. Why can't you step into the immortal king realm within a short period of time? His Majesty betrothed Qing'er to you when you are at the immortal foundation realm. Do you know what this means? In the immortal realms, which ruler of an immortal empire would have such courage? Is it really just because you obtained victory in the adjudication battle? The Scarlet Eye Marquis spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed, only to hear the Scarlet Eye Marquis continuing. This is something that has never happened before in the immortal realms. Qing'er is the most doted-on daughter of His Majesty. Do you know how much hope His Majesty has placed on you? Since this is the case, even if you can create an unprecedented cultivation record, what's wrong with that? Qin Wentian's heart trembled as he felt ashamed in his heart. He actually didn't understand why the Chongqing the Great and the Scarlet Eye Marquis regarded him so highly. In fact, they even believed that he would be able to create an unprecedented cultivation record. Since the Great Emperor and the Scarlet Eye Marquis dared to think this way, why couldn't he have the same conviction? Senior brother Bai Wuya was very powerful, but he wasn't born strong. He relied on himself bit by bit, and after stepping into the immortal king realm, he grew even stronger, killing 13 experts at the same level as him. But at that time, in the projection of the Dongshang Heaven Emperor Palace, Bai Wuya's companions were the Undying Immortal King, Scarce Moon Immortal King, and the others. Comparing Bai Wuya to them, he naturally had a huge advantage. In truth, Bai Wuya was still concealing some of his strength. It was only after he killed the Deep Flame Immortal King did the Eastern Sage Immortal King learn of his true strength. Since Marquis has put it this way, seems like I have to work even harder. Qin Wentian laughed. As the two of them chatted, they arrived at the Princess Chongping residence. During these few days he was mainly staying here. After all, Qing'er was only betrothed to him and hadn't truly married him yet. It was naturally impossible for him to move into the princess residence where Qing'er was staying. However, during these few days, Qing'er had been staying in the Princess Chongping residence. Qin Wentian smiled when he saw Qing'er waiting for him. He walked up and held her dainty hands. Qing'er's aura was as cold as ever. She allowed Qin Wentian to hold her hands. Look at the two of you, you two are so young and innocent. I feel like I'm an extra. Princess Chongping stared at the two juniors and smiled. In that case, let's leave and not disturb them. The Scarlet Eye Marquis also laughed. Let me and Qing'er take a stroll outside the royal palace. Qin Wentian spoke. Alright, you two go ahead. Princess Chongping didn't have any objections. Qin Wentian pulled Qing'er and left the place. Very soon, there were many figures following them from afar. These people seemed to be hidden in the darkness, but Qin Wentian knew of their existence. They were the people protecting him in the dark. These were extraordinary times. Although there had been peace for nearly 4 months after the adjudication battle, everyone understood that the people of the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom Alliance wouldn't give up so easily. No one knew what they would do. Hence, even if they were in the imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom, they still had to be cautious. Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't reject the protection of these experts. He acted as though nothing had happened and left the royal palace with Qing'er, strolling in the bustling imperial city. On the bustling streets of the royal capital, there were many people coming and going. The silhouettes of Qin Wentian and Qing easily attracted the attention of the majority. The demeanor of the two of them was simply too outstanding. Not only that, Qing cold beauty caused people to be stunned by her beauty. Many people were silently speculating that given the demeanor of these two, they definitely had extraordinary identities. Qing, many people are looking at you. Qin Wentian squeezed Qing's palm as he smiled. They're looking at you as well. Qing coldly replied. Their gazes are filled with envy and jealousy. Such gazes are truly enjoyable to look at. Qin Wentian's lips curled up in a satisfied smile, as though he was asking for a spanking. Being able to stroll in the crowd with the woman he loved, forgetting about cultivation and enjoying a rare moment of peace and tranquility, was truly a wonderful thing. Qing rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. Shall we go to an inn and enjoy some immortal-tasting delicacies? Qin Wentian asked Qing. Sure. Qing nodded lightly. After which, the two of them headed towards an inn and chose an extremely good location, allowing them to overlook the surrounding streets and view the bustling imperial capital. Do you dislike crowded places? Qin Wentian asked Qing, who was sitting beside him. Qing stared at Qin Wentian as she lightly shook her head. With you around, I like everything. Qin Wentian blinked as he stared at Qing. This lass actually knew how to say such touching words. Upon seeing the fiery gaze of Qin Wentian, Qing's face revealed a soul-stirring expression. Qin Wentian held her dainty hand as he spoke in a light voice. Qing, actually I don't wish to marry you too early. Once in our particle world, I was able to give Qingqing a grand wedding. But in the immortal realms, the me now still needs to rely on your father. I have no way to give you a grand wedding. In that case, can we do it twice? Qing smiled. Qin Wentian blinked his eyes as he spoke in a gentle voice. Qing, I truly like you more and more. At a place some distance away from here there was also an inn. At this moment a young man was currently drinking wine in a certain location, seemingly in a bad mood. If Qin Wentian was here, he would be able to recognize that this young man was none other than the young immortal King Evergreen Yuhao, who had a prejudice against him in the formation earlier. Immortal kings were also humans and humans would have their own troubles. Evergreen Yuhao naturally had his own troubles as well. Hence he was drinking wine alone. At this moment, an old man in tattered robes walked into the inn. He exuded no aura at all and his eyes were cloudy. He stumbled as he walked towards Evergreen Yuhao and actually sat down. Evergreen Yuhao's eyes flashed with coldness. He was originally in a bad mood. Yet there was actually someone who dared to disturb him while he was drinking. Young man, can you enjoy some wine? The old man's voice was hoarse. As he spoke, another voice rang out in Evergreen Yuhao's mind. Evergreen Royal Tribe, Evergreen Yuhao. Evergreen Yuhao's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at the old man. Being able to know his identity and even dare to sit before him, this old man was definitely not an ordinary old man. However, he truly couldn't sense any aura from this old man. It could only be that this old man's cultivation base was higher than him, and could easily hide from him. Who are you? Evergreen Yuhao transmitted his voice back. Who I am isn't important. Back then, what sort of character was your father? He protected the Chongqing the Great and eventually died in battle. Although the Chongqing the Great treated you well, it was mostly because of guilt and pity. Your talent is shocking, yet you were always hidden behind the scenes. And now, a junior actually attracted so much attention. The Chongqing the Great even betrothed Princess Qing to him. From this, one can very well imagine that in the future, this junior would definitely have towering authority in the empire, standing above you and even commanding you. The old man slowly spoke. Evergreen Yuhao's expression changed, becoming somewhat unsightly to behold. He coldly scolded, impudent. The matters of the Evergreen Kingdom are not something you dare to talk about. Chapter 1323. The sloppy-looking old man stared at Evergreen Yuhao and casually laughed. Your father died in battle for Evergreen. Evergreen should treat you like his own son, but he didn't do so. He also didn't betroth his beloved daughter, Princess Qing, to you. Instead, he betrothed her to an outsider. To think that you are actually willing to do so. I originally have a good solution, but since you are willing, just pretend that I didn't say anything. The two of them communicated via voice transmission. not alerting anyone else. After speaking, the sloppy-looking old man directly turned and prepared to leave. What solution do you have? All of a sudden, Evergreen Yuhao transmitted his voiceover. If you trust me, then come with me. The sloppy-looking old man turned his head and glanced at Evergreen Yuhao. Evergreen Yuhao frowned and hesitated for a moment, but eventually, he still stood up and followed behind the sloppy-looking old man. Qin Wentian and Qinger didn't know what happened to Evergreen Yuhao. It was rare for the two of them to have such a leisurely time. Naturally, they would do their best to enjoy themselves. In truth, ordinary people would have more time to enjoy life. As for them, they were constantly working hard in their cultivation to increase their strength. Under the pressure from all directions, they could only try their best to grow stronger. Although Qinger was extremely beautiful, nobody dared to disturb them when they walked on the streets. After all, this place was the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, where experts were as common as the clouds. Their auras were extraordinary, and who knew what background they had? Ordinary people wouldn't dare to offend them casually. On the way, Qinger had a few sets of immortal robes in her hands. These were all specially chosen by Qin Wentian for Qinger. Qinger was like a fairy that didn't eat the food of the mortal world. She didn't have any pursuits, but as long as it was chosen by Qin Wentian, she would be extremely happy. There were people specially prepared for her in the royal palace. Being able to choose clothes together with Qin Wentian naturally gave her a different feeling. Occasionally, a faint smile would appear on her cold face. At this moment, Qin Wentian's footsteps suddenly slowed. A silhouette appeared before him. It was actually the person who injured him in the formation earlier. According to what the Scarlet Eye Marquis said, this person was none other than Evergreen Yuhao, a member of the royal clan of the Immortal Empire. Qinger kept the immortal robe in her hands. Her cold eyes stared at Evergreen Yuhao, not knowing what he meant by this. Evergreen Yuhao walked over. Qinger furrowed her brows. She had grown up in this particle world since she was young. Let alone Evergreen Yuhao, who was a member of the royal clan. She wasn't even close to her own elder brother. The only two men she was close to was her father, Chongqing the Great, and the other was Qin Wentian, who was by her side. What's the matter? Qinger asked cold. Qinger, why are you so cold to me? Evergreen Yuhao calmly spoke. Qinger furrowed her brows. Her originally cold eyes grew even colder. Upon seeing the look in Qinger's eyes, Evergreen Yuhao laughed. Indeed, you father and daughter have never valued me highly. As the sound of his voice faded, his eyes abruptly gleamed with an evil light. Careful. Qin Wentian suddenly spoke, pulling Qinger along as he retreated. His eyes gleamed resplendently, containing the will of truth within, able to see through all illusions. From Evergreen Yuhao's eyes, he could see killing intent. And as expected, at the instant he retreated, the killing intent in Evergreen Yuhao's eyes was completely unmasked. It was so violent that it was terrifying to the extreme. A member of the Evergreen royal clan actually had such a strong killing intent in him? It was simply unimaginable. Evergreen Yuhao instantly erupted forth with terrifying law energy as his law domain manifested. A boundless storm of law energy enveloped Qin Wentian and Qinger, enveloping both Qin Wentian and Qinger within. The fearsome storm of sharpness ravaged Qin Wentian and Qinger, wanting to tear them apart. Evergreen Yuhao, stay your hand, impudent. Everything happened in an instant. From afar, a thunderous roar rang out, causing everyone in this vast space to tremble. They turned their gazes in the direction of the voice, only to see a terrifying aura enveloping this entire space, powerful to an unfathomable extent. Immortal King, what's going on? The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness as their hearts trembled. They hadn't recovered yet. And at this moment Evergreen Yuhao already acted. His body transformed into a shadow as he sped towards Qin Wentian. He wasn't aiming for Qinger but for Qin Wentian. Fast, too fast. There was only an afterimage, so fast that Qin Wentian basically couldn't react in time. He could only rely on his powerful will to push out a palm strike towards Qinger, causing Qinger to fly away. Evergreen Yuhao's killing intent was locked onto him. In that case, as long as Qinger separated from him, she would be able to avoid the aftershocks. Before this, Qin Wentian had already experienced Evergreen Yuhao's speed under the effects of his wind law domain. But clearly that wasn't his maximum speed. Right now, he was facing Evergreen Yuhao, who was using his full strength, exuding a powerful killing intent. Die! Evergreen Yuhao stabbed out with his finger. The space where Qin Wentian was at was about to shatter. From the moment Evergreen Yuhao's killing intent erupted to the moment he stabbed out with his finger, Qin Wentian only had time to do two actions. He pushed Qing'er away and pulled out his demon sword. The aura from Qin Wentian erupted forth in a frenzy without any pattern. The terrifying shadow of a great rock appeared, flapping its wings as it slashed through the air, wanting to destroy everything. The two attacks collided together. His demon sword was almost flung out of his hand. Other than this, the boundless killing intent from his law domain completely suppressed Qin Wentian's law domain. Their cultivation bases were no longer on the same level. Qin Wentian's law domain naturally had no way to defend against it. Terrifying tearing sounds rang out. Qin Wentian only felt his defenses shattering apart, as the terrifying attacks left behind bloody scars on his body. He rapidly retreated. His immortal foundation erupted forth as demonic qi gushed forth. In fact, there was even a vast amount of devil might gushing forth, causing the space around him to be in chaos. A fearsome tempest manifested in this space, wanting to engulf Qin Wentian within it. A shadow appeared before Qin Wentian once more. It was none other than Evergreen Yuhao. Die! Evergreen Yuhao's eyes gleamed with an evil light. With a loud roar, he pointed a finger at Qin Wentian. A moment later, the tempest transformed into a sword of destruction that descended from the sky. For a moment, millions upon millions of sword beams slashed down at the same time, aiming for Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian roared. The demon sword slashed out as the shadow of a great rock manifested. However, under the attack of an immortal king, it was directly broken apart. Qin Wentian wanted to take out his other two treasures, but it wasn't that he wasn't willing to do so. It was because Evergreen Yuhao basically didn't want to give him any time. If he wasted even a moment, his opponent's attack would be able to kill him. His immortal energy instantly turned devilish as devilish light towered up into the sky. His body radiated boundless light, resembling the body of a god. At the same time, boundless devil might gush towards the tempest swords, transforming into a light of judgment that enveloped him completely. He then soared up into the sky, resisting the incoming attacks. The space where Qin Wentian was in was like an apocalypse. Everything was filled with destructive might as the two types of energy clashed against each other. Kill, kill, kill. Evergreen Yuhao's finger frenziedly pressed downwards, causing the earth to shatter. Qin Wentian was almost engulfed by the destructive might. Inescapable net. A cold voice rang out. Several immortal kings appeared, taking out their powerful divine weapons. In an instant, a dazzling white light flashed, causing everyone's eyes to be blinded. The translucent blades formed into an inescapable net that shot towards Evergreen Yuhao, instantly sealing the entire space. All the attacks were blocked within as intense sounds of collision rang out. Wentian. Qing'er rushed towards Qin Wentian. Her countenance was as pale as paper. Earlier, everything happened too fast, so fast that she didn't know what to do. Evergreen Yuhao actually wanted to kill Qin Wentian. This was simply unimaginable. Could it be that Evergreen Yuhao didn't want to live anymore? How foolish was this? It didn't seem like something an immortal king would do. Over at Qin Wentian's side, all the attacks landed. Qin Wentian stood there unmoving, causing Qing'er to hold her breath. Drops of blood dripped from her body as she breathed heavily. How dangerous! Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. He turned his head and stared at Qing'er as he smiled. Qing'er, it's fine. Qing'er's silhouette flashed, directly appearing beside Qin Wentian. Her hands trembled as she held his face. Who told you to do this? Protecting my wife, isn't this what I should do? Qin Wentian shrugged, not minding it at all. Qing'er rolled her eyes at him before turning back to the battlefield. The inescapable net trapped Evergreen Yuhao, and an army of immortal kings sealed this entire space. The spectators from afar already guessed who these two young men were. They were none other than Qin Wentian, who was the most rumored person in the royal capital, as well as Princess Qing'er, who was betrothed to him by the Evergreen Immortal Emperor. They actually encountered an assassination attempt in the royal capital. This was simply courting death. Qin Wentian similarly stared ahead, his eyes extremely cold. Very swiftly, the inescapable net was dispelled and Evergreen Yuhao was subdued. He transformed into a man of blood, his body penetrated by a divine weapon and was locked there. Princess and Sir Qin, please return to the royal palace. An immortal king came to the side of Qin Wentian and Qing'er as he spoke. Qin Wentian stared at Evergreen Yuhao as he spoke. His gaze seems a little abnormal. Yes, Evergreen Yuhao might have been controlled by someone. I will bring him back to the immortal empire to be dealt with. That immortal king spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with an intense coldness. Back then when the three immortal kings chased after him, he was prepared and was able to hunt them down. However, Evergreen Yuhao launched a sneak attack. An immortal king suddenly launched a sneak attack. This was an extremely dangerous thing to do. If Evergreen Yuhao was controlled by someone, who was the one who wanted his life? That person clearly knew that ordinary immortal kings wouldn't even have a chance to get close to him. Hence, the people who controlled Evergreen Yuhao, the people of the Evergreen Kingdom, didn't take any precautions against Evergreen Yuhao. Chapter 1324. Just when Qin Wentian was contemplating, Evergreen Yuhao let out a bestial roar. His eyes gleamed with a blood-red light. Although he was bound by the chains, he still struggled, wanting to break free. The blood in his entire body seemed to be roaring as his countenance turned incomparably malevolent. Qin Wentian glanced over as he furrowed his brows. At this moment, Evergreen Yuhao's eyes gleamed with a blood-red light, as though he had entered a demonic state. Qin Wentian radiated the light of truth as his eyes gleamed resplendently, able to see through everything. He directly stared into Evergreen Yuhao's eyes. Through those eyes he could faintly see two different wills. However, given his current cultivation base, he had no way to see through them. He had no way to see the owner of the other will. He could only see an illusory figure. A miserable scream rang out. Evergreen Yuhao's eyes bled as his entire body started to bleed, transforming into a man of blood. Those immortal kings who captured him were as cold as ever. They glanced at Evergreen Yuhao and after that, Evergreen Yuhao let out a bestial roar as his blood flowed unceasingly. His aura grew increasingly weaker. Destroying the evidence? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Seems like the person who plotted to kill him wasn't simple. That person made use of the fact that the people of the Evergreen Kingdom wouldn't be on guard against Evergreen Yuhao, and controlled Evergreen Yuhao to act. Firstly, it would be easier to succeed. Secondly, the mastermind didn't need to be exposed. Assassinating Qin Wentian and Qing'er in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. As long as this was exposed, the mastermind would die for sure. After cultivating to the immortal king realm, who would be willing to die so easily? There were many death warriors in the immortal realms, but those at the immortal king realm were extremely few in number. For lofty immortal kings, which one of them would be willing to die together with others? Even if their cultivation bases didn't improve, they could still become hegemons of an area and establish their own sections. Evergreen Yuhao had died. He was killed by Qin Wentian. Naturally, the mastermind must have played a part in this. Staring at the cold corpse, the countenances of the immortal king army from the Evergreen Kingdom were as cold as ever. They wouldn't care about Evergreen Yuhao's identity. They only received a single mission, and that was to protect Qin Wentian and the princess. No matter what Evergreen Yuhao's identity was, since he had assassinated Qin Wentian, his fate was already sealed. Even if the Evergreen Immortal Emperor couldn't bear to kill him because of their past relationship, he would never be able to climb up again. Princess, young Master Qin, let's return to the palace. The immortal king beside Qin Wentian continued. Although there wouldn't be any accidents in the royal capital, they still had to be careful. What if someone went crazy? Let's go. Qin Wentian took Qing'er's hand. Your injuries? Qing'er stared at Qin Wentian, whose robes were dyed red with blood. My bloodline recovery ability is very strong. It's not like you don't know this. Qin Wentian smiled. His injuries weren't light, but this wasn't the time to be calculative about this. The group of them stood up and returned to the palace. In the surroundings, there were countless people rushing over, their eyes gleaming as they stared at the departing figures. That should be Princess and Qin Wentian, right? They are truly a pair of immortal companions. Princess Qing'er is just like the rumors and icy beauty. Qin Wentian is truly powerful, surviving the assassination attempt of an immortal king. Although he was injured, he acted as though nothing had happened to him. That's right, it was a sneak attack by someone familiar. Evergreen Yuhao, his surname is Evergreen. Everyone should be able to guess his identity. Those guards didn't even guard against him. Since Qin Wentian didn't die, it can only be said that his combat prowess is extremely terrifying. Most probably, no one in the Immortal Foundation realm would be stronger than him. The people here were discussing fervently. Behind the crowd, an old man in ragged clothes slowly squeezed his way out. His body was stooped and he raised his head to look at the silhouette in the distance. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he cursed in a low voice, "Trash." Although it seemed like a simple and violent assassination attempt, he had made meticulous preparations for a very long time. If not, how would he be able to see through Evergreen Yuhao's heart and grasp the opportunity when he and Qin Wentian both left the royal palace? For this opportunity he had waited for 2 months, all for the sake of this one strike. Naturally, 2 months to him couldn't be considered much. Once, in order to kill someone, he had to wait at most 800 years before he found an extremely rare opportunity to do so. What made him infuriated was that even with such an opportunity, he actually failed to kill Qin Wentian. One could only say that Evergreen Yuhao was trash. If he was the one acting, a single strike would be sufficient. But leaving aside whether he could get close to Qin Wentian, even if he could conceal his aura, the moment he acted, he would most probably die in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. He didn't wish to perish together with an Immortal Foundation brat. Now he could only wait for other opportunities. However, if he missed this opportunity, it would be even more difficult to assassinate Qin Wentian in the future. Qin Wentian and Qing'er returned to the royal palace. Upon learning that Qin Wentian was assassinated, the entire royal palace was shaken. There was actually someone who dared to act in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom? Simply audacious. This was simply a provocation to the prestige of the Evergreen Kingdom. "I will go look for father." Qing'er spoke in a cold voice the moment she returned to the royal palace. If it was any other matter, she could forget about it. But since Qin Wentian was assassinated, she wouldn't let this matter rest. Evergreen Yuhao was merely a scapegoat. She had to find the mastermind behind this. Before this, when Qin Wentian was assassinated, her heart seemed to have stopped beating. She would never allow such a thing to happen again. Qin Wentian knew how sexy Qing'er was and didn't stop her. He returned to Princess Chongping's residence only to see Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis walking over. Staring at his blood-stained robes, the Scarlet Eye Marquis coldly asked, "Was it really done by Evergreen Yuhao?" Before this, Evergreen Yuhao had already injured Qin Wentian in the formation. Who would have thought that he would be so brazen as to assassinate Qin Wentian? But there's someone behind this. Evergreen Yuhao seems to be under the control of someone. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with coldness. How can it be so easy to control someone at the Immortal King realm? His heart must be evil and he had such thoughts. That's why someone could take advantage of this and control his mind. The Scarlet Eye Marquis coldly spoke. This fellow really thinks that his father died in battle for His Majesty. His Majesty didn't announce it because he wanted to save face. Who would have thought that this actually caused him to have wild ambitions? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. Could it be that there was more to what the Scarlet Eye Marquis said to him earlier? "Wentian, this is a secret of our empire. Only an extremely few people know about this. Back then, His Majesty gave the order that no one is allowed to speak of this." Before this, Evergreen Yuhao's father did indeed fight for His Majesty, but after the situation changed, he betrayed the empire and was discovered by the White Emperor. The White Emperor then plotted to destroy Evergreen Yuhao, but because His Majesty wanted to thank him for everything he had done, he gave him the title of Died in Battle and treated Evergreen Yuhao quite well. As expected, like father like son. The Scarlet Eye Marquis coldly spoke. Only now did Qin Wentian understand. No wonder the Scarlet Eye Marquis was so unhappy with Evergreen Yuhao before this. So there was actually another layer of reason. There were many things that weren't as simple as they seemed to be. "Wentian, who do you think the mastermind is?" Princess Chongping asked. "Who else can it be?" Naturally, it's those people who initiated the adjudication but failed in the end. Using such a method, we have no way to find out which major power is the mastermind behind this. Hence, it's hard for us to take revenge. Qin Wentian coldly spoke. Other than those major powers, who would be so crazy as to send powerful experts to the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom just to kill him, an immortal foundation cultivator? Also, the main target was him. They had no killing intent towards Qing Heir. Seems like there's no mistake. Princess Chongping nodded lightly. Those people acted in the dark. How could the Evergreen Kingdom deal with all the major powers who participated in the adjudication? As long as the other party didn't reveal who the mastermind was, the Evergreen Kingdom could only accept it. Rumble. At this moment, the bodies of Princess Chongping and Qin Wentian trembled. Their eyes flickered, and after that, the earth started to tremble unceasingly. In addition, the tremors grew more and more intense. What's going on? The eyes of the few of them gleamed with sharpness. The entire residence was trembling. No, not only the residence, the entire royal palace was trembling, and this trembling grew increasingly intense. Boom! A deafening sound rang out. After that, beams of green light shot up into the sky. Qin Wentian and the others inclined their heads and stared in the direction of the Emperor Palace. In an instant, their eyes froze as they stared in shock at the towering ancient tree. This Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis were also stunned. That ancient tree instantly broke through the ground, shooting up into the sky. Its terrifying trunk directly soared up, blotting out the sun. Beams of green light instantly enveloped the entire royal palace. Eternal evergreen tree. Qin Wentian mumbled. This ancient tree was none other than the ancient tree that accompanied Chongqing the Great when the various immortal emperors descended upon the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. At this moment, this towering ancient tree appeared once again. Within the royal palace, the silhouettes of the experts flickered as they floated in the air. They were enveloped by the ancient tree, and all of them had looks of shock in their eyes. The evergreen tree would only appear when the Evergreen Immortal Empire was in danger. At this moment, there seemed to be no one threatening the Evergreen Kingdom. Why did the ancient tree suddenly appear? The speed of the Evergreen tree's expansion had reached a terrifying degree, unceasingly enveloping the entire royal palace. Even ordinary immortal emperors wouldn't be able to match the speed of the Evergreen tree. The experts of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace once again witnessed the magnificence of the Evergreen tree. They inclined their heads as their hearts trembled. What was going on? Chongqing the Great's silhouette appeared in the airspace above the Emperor Palace, right before the trunk of the Evergreen tree. Great Emperor! The experts stared at the Evergreen Immortal Emperor with bewilderment in their eyes. This city is the royal capital of my empire. If someone dares to wantonly assassinate my daughter and son-in-law in this city, would there still be a day of peace for my Evergreen Kingdom? The Chongqing the Great calmly spoke. No matter who it is, no matter how many people participated in this assassination attempt, as long as they are in the royal capital, they must die. His voice reverberated throughout the royal palace, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. The Evergreen Immortal Emperor summoned the Evergreen Tree because of the assassination attempt on Qin Wentian. At this instant, Qin Wentian's status in the hearts of many experts rose immensely. In fact, they were treating him as a descendant of the Evergreen Immortal Emperor. Chapter 1325. The Eternal Evergreen Tree was a supreme treasure of the Evergreen Kingdom. It wouldn't be used unless there was a war. But now, because of an assassination attempt, it was summoned by the Chongqing the Great. From this, one could very well imagine how important Qin Wentian was in the heart of the Chongqing the Great. Naturally, there might be another layer of reason. Just like what the Evergreen Great said, even his daughter and son-in-law were assassinated in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. If he didn't find the culprit, wouldn't everyone dare to cause trouble in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom in the future? Even if the culprit was hiding in the shadows, the Chongqing the Great still wanted him dead. No matter who it was, no matter how many people participated in this assassination attempt, as long as they were in the royal capital, they must be killed. In the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom, countless people inclined their heads, staring at the towering ancient tree. The vast majority of them still had no idea what was going on. They thought that another immortal emperor had invaded the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. The speed at which the eternal evergreen tree expanded was simply too terrifying. In the blink of an eye, it had already reached the location where Qin Wentian was assassinated. The experts there knew what was going on as their hearts trembled. The Chongqing the Great actually used the eternal evergreen tree to capture the mastermind? In just an instant, the eternal evergreen tree directly streaked past, covering the entire sky as it continued to extend outwards. Below, a hunchbacked old man abruptly inclined his head. His eyes flashed with a terrifying sharpness. He didn't look old at all. At the next instant, his body trembled slightly. Was the Chongqing the Great crazy? He actually used the eternal evergreen tree for a failed assassination attempt? What was he trying to do? He had lived for countless years and had assassinated countless experts. Even for immortal kings, he had almost never failed. Even if he failed, he would always be able to escape unscathed. As a powerful assassin, he had always felt that completing the mission wasn't the most important thing. Preserving his life would always be the most important. No matter what, he had to ensure his own safety even if the mission failed. But looking at the gigantic eternal everlasting evergreen tree, he felt a tinge of fear. The Chongqing the Great was determined to find out who the mastermind was. Even though he had a glorious past, he still couldn't help but feel terrified when facing someone like the Chongqing the Great. He wanted to escape the imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom. However, when he saw the eternal evergreen tree expanding crazily, he understood that if he tried to escape now, he would be seeking his own death. Soon, the vast and boundless imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom was enveloped by the eternal evergreen tree. Endless green light sprinkled down, and countless experts raised their heads to look at the void, not knowing what was happening. "I am the Evergreen Emperor." A voice suddenly rang out from the eternal evergreen tree. Everyone in the imperial city could hear this voice. This was none other than the Chongqing the Great speaking. "Several months ago, I betrothed my beloved daughter, Qing'er, to Qin Wentian. But today, in the imperial city of my Evergreen Kingdom, my daughter and son-in-law were assassinated." The voice of the Chongqing the Great rang out, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. They finally understood the reason. Princess Qing'er and Qin Wentian. Did something happen to them? Luckily, they are fine. The Chongqing the Great continued. However, the mastermind is still in hiding. In the imperial city of my Evergreen Kingdom in my territory, there's actually someone who dared to assassinate my daughter and son-in-law right under my eyes, let alone the other people in the city. Everyone nodded. They naturally understood why the Chongqing the Great was so angry. Assassinating his daughter and son-in-law right under his eyes. Wasn't this a slap to the face of the Chongqing the Great? If the assassination really succeeded, wouldn't the Chongqing the Great and the Evergreen Kingdom become a joke? Hence, I hope that everyone in the imperial city can cooperate with me. All experts at the Immortal King realm and above are to gather in my royal palace. We will investigate them one by one until we find the mastermind. The Chongqing the Great commanded. Everyone should be able to understand my intentions. If I discover any immortal kings who didn't come to the royal palace, they will be treated as the assassins. As the sound of his voice faded, the entire imperial city trembled. The Evergreen Emperor gave the order to gather all the experts in the imperial city, making it impossible for the mastermind to escape even if he had wings. Right now, the entire imperial city was sealed by the eternal evergreen tree. No one would be able to escape. As long as someone wanted to flee, the Chongqing the Great would instantly know and kill them. Who would dare to flee? It's our honor to be able to pay our respects to the evergreen tree. An immortal king spoke as he stepped out. Haha, to think that we would have the chance to witness the magnificence of the evergreen tree. We will naturally head there. In the imperial city of the Evergreen Kingdom, the immortal kings spoke one after another. After that, they stepped out and moved towards the royal palace. The Chongqing the Great was the ruler of the imperial city. Also, there was a reason for everything to happen. Everyone would naturally follow his orders. In an instant, countless immortal kings soared through the air, causing the entire capital to tremble. There were so many experts here, and all of them were immortal kings. This place was as expected of the royal capital of the Immortal Empire, the most prosperous and powerful place in the world. At this moment, within the royal palace, the nobility was shaken. Qin Wentian himself was also incomparably shocked. Because of a single assassination attempt, the Evergreen Emperor was enraged. He activated the eternal evergreen tree and sealed the entire imperial city, ordering all the immortal kings to gather in the royal palace. Clearly, no one expected the reaction of the Evergreen Emperor would be so intense. The army moved out, preparing to maintain order. The Chongqing the Great's body seemed to have fused into the eternal evergreen tree. He controlled the evergreen tree, becoming one with the tree. The evergreen tree enveloped the entire imperial city, and was like his eyes. At this moment he could clearly see the movements of the entire imperial city. Numerous immortal kings gathered in the direction of the royal palace. They were summoned to a large public square by the army there. These people inclined their heads and stared at the sky. The body of the Evergreen Emperor had fused into the ancient tree, exuding an unmatched magnificence. All of them bowed and greeted. "We pay our respects to the Evergreen Emperor, to the people of the Evergreen Immortal Empire." The Chongqing the Great was a supreme existence, a saint in their hearts. Even if this incident didn't happen, they had always hoped to be able to personally witness the glory of the Evergreen Emperor. Today it could be said that their wish was finally fulfilled. Within the imperial city, that stooped old man was still hiding himself, like an ordinary old man. He didn't dare to reveal his aura and didn't dare to head to the royal palace. He was very clear that not only was there the Chongqing the Great in the royal palace, there was also the White Emperor. With the two of them present, no matter how well he hid himself, he would definitely be discovered. In addition, as an assassin, he naturally heard of how powerful the supreme guardian treasure of the Evergreen Kingdom was. Right now he didn't know whether he should move or not. He was thinking in his heart that he had roamed the immortal realms unhindered, killing countless people. But now was he going to fall here in the royal palace? 2 hours later, there were already many experts arriving at the royal palace. However, the Chongqing the Great didn't bother to investigate them. Instead he spoke, "If there are still immortal kings who have yet to come to the royal palace, I will personally invite all of you over." His voice was transmitted through the evergreen tree. Everyone in the royal palace could hear it. Who would dare to disobey his command? This place was the royal palace. The Chongqing the Great ruled everything under the heavens. Who would dare to disobey him? Very swiftly, more and more immortal kings gathered in the royal palace. Only when there was no one left in the air did the Chongqing the Great continue. "Everyone in the royal palace, stand at your original location." As the sound of his voice rang out, the entire imperial city trembled. Following which, countless branches of the everlasting evergreen tree swayed and swept downwards. Rays of green light shot out from the branches, aiming for the crowd. Everyone, regardless of young or old, regardless of their cultivation bases, were all bound by the branches of the evergreen tree. Nobody dared to resist the Chongqing the Great. These branches were like the eyes of the Chongqing the Great, monitoring everything in the royal palace. Nobody dared to move recklessly. The jade-green branches transformed into motes of light, slowly seeping into the bodies of the crowd. The crowd watched nervously, allowing the motes of light to seep into their bodies. However, at this moment there were also people who started trembling. An example was a middle-aged immortal king. He was extremely nervous, and just when the motes of light entered his body, he suddenly spoke in a loud voice, "Your Majesty, please forgive me. I have no intention of concealing my cultivation base. I will head to the royal palace now." He didn't expect that the evergreen tree would have such a miraculous effect. As the sound of his voice faded, rustling sounds rang out as beams of light cascaded downwards. Boundless evergreen vines coiled around his body, instantly engulfing him within the void. After which, the vines rapidly moved towards the direction of the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. In another direction, the sloppy-looking old man suddenly started to panic. He had always thought that his concealment abilities were extremely strong, but when the jade-green light seeped into his body, sensing the energy within his body, he finally understood how terrifying the supreme treasure of the Evergreen Kingdom, the Evergreen Tree, was. Boom! His body soared up into the air. At this instant, a terrifying might erupted forth from him. His hunched back instantly straightened as he fled into the distance. Numerous jade-green vines slashed down from the sky, instantly sealing off all his escape routes. following which countless vines swept over, sealing off the entire space in an instant. The sloppy old man's body finally began to tremble in fear. Immortal emperors, were they really so easy to antagonize? This was especially so for the Chongqing the Great, the evergreen immortal emperor. Was it really that fun to assassinate his son-in-law? Very swiftly, his body was dragged towards the direction of the evergreen immortal empire. Not only him and that old man from before, there were actually over 10 immortal kings who were proficient in concealment within the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. At this instant, all of them were exposed without exception, and were dragged towards the palace by the evergreen tree. Very swiftly, these 10+ people appeared within the palace. They were bound by the vines, and their bodies seemed to have been penetrated by the energy of the evergreen tree. They appeared extremely weak, and were like criminals being dragged in the air by the vines. Right above the public square where all the immortal kings were gathered, countless immortal kings inclined their heads and stared at these figures, silently praising the evergreen immortal emperor for doing what he said. For those who didn't move, the evergreen immortal emperor personally acted to capture them. Qin Wentian also arrived here. He inclined his head and stared at the 10+ figures in the air as his eyes gleamed with sharpness. There were so many people behind the scenes. Chapter 1326. The silhouette of the Chongqing the Great flickered as he appeared before those tied-up experts, personally interrogating them. You guys better explain yourselves clearly. If not, you should know the consequences. These people all had ashen expressions, knowing that it was impossible for them to survive. Some of them were silently cursing, wondering who it was exactly that assassinated Qin Wentian and Qing'er, causing all of them to be dragged out. After entering the royal palace, they knew that they wouldn't be able to escape. Hence, they harbored a sliver of hope and didn't dare to take the initiative to approach. But who would have thought that under the evergreen tree, their concealment techniques would be so easily seen through? Although the evergreen emperor was in the royal palace, he could sense everything. The cultivation bases of everyone in the royal palace couldn't be hidden from him. Your Majesty, please spare our lives. I'm someone from the Dongshengshan Gate, and was only ordered to guard the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. I've never done anything that would harm the reputation of the Evergreen Kingdom. It's only because I was worried that Your Majesty might misunderstand. I didn't dare to come to the royal palace myself. I beg for Your Majesty's forgiveness. Everyone instantly understood that he was a spy arranged by the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor to infiltrate the royal palace of the Evergreen Immortal Empire. Such a matter was very common. It was common for the various major powers to do so. This was especially so during this sensitive period of time. It was just that no one expected the Evergreen Immortal Emperor to be so enraged that he would flip the entire royal palace upside down. The Chongqing the Great coldly glanced at him. After that, he turned to the others and asked, "Who is the mastermind?" As the sound of his voice faded, everyone could feel the coldness radiating from the Evergreen Emperor. "If I'm willing to tell you who the mastermind is, would Your Majesty spare my life?" At this moment, a voice drifted over. It was none other than the sloppy-looking old man. He knew that it was impossible for him to escape. Right now, he could only hope that he could preserve his life. As an assassin, survival was the #1 priority. Right now, he had to think of a way to preserve his life. The Chongqing the Great glanced at him coldly. With a wave of his hand, an expert walked out from the direction of the Immortal Empire. The eyes of this expert were extremely terrifying, and it was clear with a single glance that he was proficient in some unique arts. The sloppy-looking old man turned as pale as paper. He instantly guessed what the expert of this expert was. The vines on his body frenziedly drilled into his body, destroying everything within. The sloppy-looking old man screamed in agony, "Great Emperor, please spare me. If you cooperate, I can spare your life." A powerful immortal king beside Chongqing the Great stepped out. His eyes gleamed with a demonic light as he tried to corrode the mind of the sloppy old man. The sloppy old man screamed unceasingly. He could resist with his life, but not everyone would be willing to die. Amidst the screams, the immortal king beside Chongqing the Great obtained the information he wanted to know. The demonic glint in his eyes disappeared. He took a step back and said to the Chongqing the Great, "Your Majesty, The mastermind intentionally hid his identity. He himself does not know who the mastermind is. The eyes of the Chongqing the Great flashed. In that case, he wouldn't be able to find the mastermind. Swishing sounds rang out. After the vines crippled the sloppy-looking old man, they dragged him to a faraway location and tossed him out of the royal capital. The consequences for a powerful immortal king was extremely tragic. Your Majesty, these people might know something. That immortal king spoke to the Chongqing the Great, his words causing the expressions of these people to change, all of them turning pale. Since the mastermind is so cautious, he wouldn't leave any flaws. These people are only here to monitor the situation. They wouldn't know anything else. The evergreen immortal emperor calmly spoke. After that, swishing sounds rang out once more as the vines directly dragged those immortal kings into the trunk of the ancient evergreen tree, swallowing them whole. Numerous screams of misery rang out as those 10+ immortal kings directly vanished from this world, killed by the vines. This scene caused the hearts of the immortal kings in the public square to tremble. This was the prestige of a great emperor. That sloppy-looking old man who was crippled and tossed out, or these people who were killed, who was more miserable? Most probably nobody could say for sure. But clearly, this time around, everyone in the eastern regions had witnessed the fury of the great emperor. From now on, no one would dare to cause trouble in the royal capital of the Evergreen Kingdom. That was simply courting death. The Chongqing the Great waved his hand. Instantly the evergreen tree moved, emitting swishing sounds. In this boundlessly vast royal capital, the leaves and branches of the evergreen tree frenziedly retracted. Not long after, it transformed back into an ancient tree and sank into the ground. The towering ancient tree vanished, as though nothing had happened at all. The Chongqing the Great spoke to the immortal kings in the public square. I've troubled all of you to make a trip here. Your Majesty is too polite. To be able to personally witness the might of a great emperor, it's the fortune of 3 lifetimes. The immortal kings all bowed, extremely polite. Although they could be considered experts of an area, the person before them was the ruler of an immortal empire. Everyone can return to your places. The Chongqing the Great calmly spoke. After that, the immortal kings all bowed and retreated. After that, their silhouettes flickered as they left the royal palace. The eyes of the Chongqing the Great gleamed with sharpness as he stared at the silhouettes of these immortal kings. He knew that among these immortal kings, there would definitely be people from the other major powers present. It was impossible for the major powers of the eastern regions to only have 10 or so people stationed in the royal capital. It was just that if these people didn't do anything, he couldn't be bothered to drag them all out. After all, this was a rule that the major powers abided by. His men were also stationed there. Today, he had already achieved his goal of intimidating these immortal kings. If they wanted to cause trouble in the royal capital, they would have to pay the price. You guys can leave as well. The Chongqing the Great waved his hands as the immortal kings of the eastern regions all retreated. However, all of them felt some emotions in their hearts. Ever since the civil war that year, everyone felt that the Evergreen Kingdom was a pushover. Just a mere immortal king actually dared to come to the royal capital to assassinate the Evergreen Kingdom. Today, the anger of the Evergreen Emperor had truly taught the people of the eastern regions a lesson on how to conduct themselves. However, this time around the anger of the Evergreen Emperor was because of Qin Wentian. Before the immortal kings left, all of them cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian. For some unknown reason, an extremely ridiculous thought appeared in their hearts. Given his outstanding talent, if he continued to grow, he would surely reach a shocking height, even surpassing the descendants of the Evergreen Emperor. In that case, the future successor of the Evergreen Kingdom wouldn't be the prince consort of the Evergreen Immortal Empire, right? When they thought of this, their hearts trembled, not daring to think too deeply. They only remembered that they had to treat Qin Wentian the same way they would treat a prince consort in the future. It was unknown when Qing'er appeared beside Qin Wentian. She lightly held onto Qin Wentian's hand. "Qing'er Wentian, follow me." The Chongqing the Great spoke to Qing'er and Qin Wentian. After that, he stepped out and walked towards the Emperor Palace. Qin Wentian and Wentian nodded. They followed behind the Chongqing the Great and entered the residence of the Chongqing the Great. The Chongqing the Great walked towards the pavilion by the lake, his back facing Qin Wentian and Qing'er. Qing Wentian, what do the two of you think about the marriage? The Chongqing the Great asked. Qin Wentian and Qing exchanged mutual glances. Before this, Qing joked with Qin Wentian, asking if they could do it twice. However, when the Chongqing the Great asked, it was impossible for them to reply in such a manner. Your Majesty, what do you think? Qin Wentian consulted. This matter was a major matter to Qing. The Chongqing the Great's opinion was naturally extremely important. I've announced to the world that I've betrothed Qing to you. This matter is already set in stone. Right now, the major powers of the eastern regions are all eyeing the two of you. I have a premonition that if the two of you hold the wedding, things wouldn't be peaceful. The Chongqing the Great calmly spoke. As immortal emperors, their instincts were naturally much sharper compared to ordinary people. In addition, even Qin Wentian had the same intuition as the Chongqing the Great. Even before their wedding, the other party already couldn't control themselves and sent assassins, wanting to kill Qin Wentian. Although no one knew who the assassins were, everyone could guess that it had something to do with those major powers. Wentian, the you now is still too weak. The Chongqing the Great spoke again. Qin Wentian fell silent. He knew that Chongqing the Great was speaking the truth. The peak level of Immortal Foundation was already considered extremely powerful to ordinary people. But if he had to face the major powers of the immortal realms, he would naturally be very weak. Chongqing Yuhao's assassination attempt almost took his life. Hence, I hope that after you break through to the Immortal King realm, I will allow the two of you to get married. Although you won't be able to control the situation after that, at the very least, you would have some strength to protect yourself and wouldn't end up in such a miserable state. The Chongqing the Great continued. Qin Wentian nodded. I'll listen to your Majesty's arrangements. It's good that you can understand. Right now, I can also be considered a true elder of yours. I'm naturally doing this for your own good. The Chongqing the Great turned and stared at Qin Wentian. Right now, your cultivation base has already reached the peak level of Immortal Foundation. At this level, it's very hard for you to find an opponent. Hence, before this, I sent Immortal Kings to spar with you. But that was merely sparring, there's no pressure. You still have to walk out on your own. If not, even if you have already taken a step out, I don't know how many years it would take for you to reach the shore. Qing, it's the same for you as well. You are an innate immortal king and have innate talent in spatial energy. In the future, this threshold would be weaker for you, but you still have to work hard to raise your cultivation base. You should temporarily set aside your emotions and focus on your cultivation. Wentian wants to break through to the Immortal King realm, you as well. The Chongqing the Great seriously spoke. He naturally hoped that his daughter and son-in-law would be strong enough to handle all the changes in the future. Although the immortal realm seemed calm on the surface, once a storm arose, it would definitely shake the heavens and earth. Just like this time around, if they lost the adjudication battle, there would definitely be a storm of blood. But now their victory merely delayed the storm. Oh, Qing calmly replied as though she wasn't happy. When the Chongqing the Great saw her expression, he couldn't help but to sigh in his heart. This lass's emotions were too deep. Wentian, you should have seen the assassination attempt this time around. Countless eyes are staring at you. If you want to head out to temper yourself, you can't let others know of this. Also, it's best if you don't head to the eastern regions. Think about where you want to head to. There's a teleportation array here that leads to the Namhuang clan. If you are willing, you can use the Namhuang clan as a middleman. The Chongqing the Great spoke. I plan to make a trip back to the Immortal Qianbian Gate first. Qin Wentian replied, as though he had his own thoughts. He was preparing to head to the Heavenly Talisman realm. If he could meet with Senior, he would ask Senior to send him to the other regions through the Heavenly Talisman realm. Chapter 1327. Chongqing the Great naturally wouldn't influence Qin Wentian's thoughts. Right now, the Evergreen Kingdom Palace also had a teleportation array that led directly to the Immortal Qianbian Gate. Qin Wentian reluctantly parted ways with Qing and returned to the Immortal Qianbian Gate. Immortal Qianbian Gate in Qin Wentian's residence. After spending a day with his family, Qin Wentian, Mo Qingcheng, Purgatory and Little Rascal were together. Qin Wentian spoke. I'm preparing to enter closed-door seclusion. I'm not sure how long it will take, but it might take a very long time. I will only exit seclusion after I break through to the immortal king realm. I've only returned for a few months and I'm already in closed-door seclusion again. How boring. Little Rascal spoke in a baby voice. Don't be idle. I've already requested the Taishan Immortal King. After I enter closed-door seclusion, someone will bring you and Purgatory to the desolate mountain range in the northern regions. You have to take good care of Purgatory for me. Qin Wentian rapped Little Rascal on its head. Little Rascal instantly leaped up and glared at Qin Wentian. The legendary desolate 10,000 mountain range, the world of demonic beasts? Can you bear to send me to such a cruel place? I can. Qin Wentian impolitely nodded. Qingcheng. Little Rascal stared at Mo Qingcheng with a look of grievance, pleading for help. Little Rascal, you are too lazy. Don't waste your talent. The desolate 10,000 mountain range is a paradise for demonic beasts. Maybe you might be able to meet your kind there. Mo Qingcheng smiled. Hell for demonic beasts. Little Rascal's lips twitched as he stared at Qin Wentian and Mo Qingcheng, feeling wronged. In truth, Qin Wentian also couldn't bear to do this. However, he had never treated Little Rascal and Purgatory as his pets. Although they were demonic beasts, they still needed to have their own world. In that case, they had to go out and roam the world. Now that their cultivation bases weren't low, no matter how he thought about it, the desolate 10,000 mountain range was the most suitable place for them. Remember to protect Purgatory. Otherwise, I'll settle the score with you. Qin Wentian knocked on the little fellow's head. Oh, little Purgatory, be good. You have to listen to me more. Little Rascal leaped onto Purgatory's shoulder and stretched out his paws, gently stroking Purgatory's hair. This caused Purgatory to roll her eyes as a look of disdain appeared on her face. Go ahead. Qin Wentian smiled at his two companions. Purgatory nodded her head lightly and brought Little Rascal away. Mo Qingcheng leaned on Qin Wentian and spoke in a gentle voice. His Majesty has already betrothed elder sister Qing to you. Have you decided on the date of the wedding? This time around, I'm in seclusion precisely for this matter. I encountered some troubles in the Evergreen Kingdom. The powers that lost the adjudication battle are still unwilling to give up. I'll wait until I break through to the Immortal King realm before discussing the wedding. Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice. Qingcheng, this time around, I've also asked the Emperor Lord to make some arrangements for you. I want to send you under the tutelage of an immortal emperor for cultivation. You won't blame me, right? I'll listen to you. Mo Qingcheng smiled. Qingcheng, since you can enter the Tiandao Sacred Academy, your talent is already very impressive. You have to work hard in your cultivation and catch up to me in the future. Qin Wentian pulled Qingcheng into his embrace. His so-called seclusion naturally meant that he would directly head to the Heavenly Talisman Realm. The Heavenly Talisman Realm had its own rules, and no one was allowed to divulge any information. If he were to enter seclusion, it would undoubtedly be the safest. No one would discover him and Qingcheng wouldn't need to worry about him. As for sending Qingcheng to cultivate there, he had always thought about it. It's just that in the past, Qingcheng's talent was on the weaker side. Even if an immortal king were to guide her, there wouldn't be too much of a problem. Now that Qingcheng had experience in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, there shouldn't be too much of a problem if she was sent under the tutelage of an immortal emperor. Not only so, this time around he would also send Sis Luo Huan, Sis Qin Yao and the others to various places to cultivate. The war between the Dongshengshan Gate and the Immortal Qinbian Gate had never ceased. Back then, there was even the incident of Qin Yao and Luo Huan encountering danger. Even the Cloud Prefecture city wasn't absolutely safe. It would be too boring to let them stay in the Immortal Sect forever. Also, even if their talent was weaker, they still needed to raise their cultivation bases or they would age easily. As for himself, if there weren't any major incidents, Qin Wentian didn't intend to return before he broke through to the Immortal King realm. This was his determination. After several days of gathering, the Immortal Qinbian Gate sent Qin Wentian's family and friends to various places to cultivate. Little Rascal and Purgatory also left, being sent to the desolate 10,000 mountain range in the extreme north of the Immortal Realms. Qingcheng also left. Although she was reluctant, she left with a smile on her face. She knew that it was time for her to focus on her cultivation. She also understood that Qin Wentian's future lay in the vast starry space. There was no need for her to become so strong, but at the very least she mustn't fall too far behind. Qin Wentian finally set his heart at ease and entered closed-door seclusion. After that, he used a secret art to open up an entrance to the Heavenly Talisman Realm and entered alone. Within the Heavenly Talisman Realm, there were green mountains and clear waters, like an otherworldly immortal realm. Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath as a smile appeared on his face. It has been a very long time since he came to the Heavenly Talisman Realm. Back then when he entered the Heavenly Talisman Realm, he had yet to become an immortal. Now he was already at the peak stage of immortal foundation. However, there were many immortal emperors and immortal kings in the Heavenly Talisman Realm. There was naturally nothing for him to be proud of. His silhouette flickered as Qin Wentian continued on his way. Along the way there were many experts flying through the air. Occasionally, there would be people who would nod their heads at Qin Wentian and Qin Wentian would naturally return the gesture with a smile. Qin Wentian directly came before the gigantic statue of the Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord. Staring at the gigantic statue, Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice, "Master, I've encountered a bottleneck in my cultivation this time around. I have no idea when I would be able to break through to the Immortal King realm. I hope that I would be able to receive some guidance from Master." After speaking, Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as he flew towards the Heavenly Talisman Palace in the hands of the statue. Just so coincidentally, there was no one in the Heavenly Talisman Palace, hence, Qin Wentian directly entered. Within the Heavenly Talisman Palace, Qin Wentian walked to the central area and sat down cross-legged. Golden light illuminated the sky as a painting appeared. Boundless runic light cascaded down on Qin Wentian, bathing him within. Within the Heavenly Talisman Palace, there was the Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome. This was a sacred cultivation treasure left behind by his master, the Heavenly Talisman Realm Lord. It was all-encompassing and different cultivation bases would be able to gain different insights. Qin Wentian's aura gushed forth as his perfect saint-grade immortal foundation gushed forth. Law energy permeated the air. Instantly, his surroundings were filled with the energy he cultivated. Instantly, beams of runic light gushed into Qin Wentian's sea of consciousness. He quietly closed his eyes as he absorbed everything. This was the second time Qin Wentian cultivated in the Heavenly Talisman Palace. The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome was about the great Tao of runes. It believed that everything in the world was born from runic inscriptions. Astral energy and runic inscriptions were the foundation of cultivation, while runic inscriptions could aid one's astral energy to communicate with the heavens and earth. This was the law language of the great Tao. This time around, the treasured tome that was imprinted in Qin Wentian's sea of consciousness caused him to have a brand new comprehension. He was completely immersed in it, unable to extricate himself from it. The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome dissected the great Tao of cultivation from the very basics, causing one to feel that the great Tao was the simplest. It was very easy to accept. For example, when astral energy and the law language runic inscriptions fused together to a certain degree, one would be able to unleash law energy. As for astral souls, stellar martial cultivators had different law attributes. Hence, the laws they created would also be different. However, when cultivators cultivate, they wouldn't try to comprehend the innate nature of cultivation. They would cultivate with the flow of nature instead. This was like a child learning how to speak. He didn't learn the language, but after listening to it, he would naturally be able to speak. Although there seemed to be no difference, only by truly learning the language would one be able to comprehend the deeper meaning behind it. Hence, understanding the innate nature of cultivation was naturally beneficial to one's cultivation. This was especially so when one reached Qin Wentian's current cultivation realm. In the future, the reliance on one's comprehension abilities would only grow stronger. In that case, what was the Immortal King realm? How could one break through to the Immortal King realm? Maybe everyone who broke through to the Immortal King realm would have a different path. They would use different methods and different insights to break through. But there was one point that was the same for all of them. That was to perfect their law domains and form a perfect body of laws. But if that was the case, how could one achieve all of this? The Heavenly Talisman Treasured Tome didn't tell Qin Wentian anything. In fact, it was completely cut off. This was an important step on the path of cultivation, and one had to depend on oneself to cross it. Although both of them were at the Immortal King realm, the disparity between them would be extremely great. This was because everyone's astral souls were different, and their law attributes were different. Everyone's path of comprehending law energy was different as well. The power of the innate techniques born from each of them would differ greatly as well. If not, why would Bai Wuya be able to suppress all the immortal kings in the particle world when they were all at the immortal king realm? On what basis did he slay Deep Flame in a single battle, not even giving his opponent the chance to flee? Qin Wentian quietly contemplated in the Heavenly Talisman Palace for several months. He didn't use the innate treasure tome to comprehend the innate techniques but was purely focused on comprehending his cultivation base. His current goal was only to step into the immortal king realm. Today, Qin Wentian walked out of the Heavenly Talisman Palace. Outside the palace, there was an expert quietly sitting there with his eyes closed in cultivation. As though he sensed something, he opened his eyes and stared at Qin Wentian. "Senior brother." Qin Wentian nodded to this person. A newly joined junior brother? The disciples of the Heavenly Talisman realm weren't familiar with each other. Hence this person asked, "I've already joined for many years and right now I'm stuck at the peak of Immortal Foundation, searching for an opportunity to break through." Qin Wentian smiled. "Junior brother wishes to head out to temper myself. Does senior brother know of any suitable locations?" So this is the case. The immortal realms are boundlessly vast, and there are plenty of good fortune there. Everything depends on your luck, and there's no way to say which location is the most suitable. Just follow your heart. That person laughed. "Many thanks, senior brother. It's just that junior brother opened the entrance to the Heavenly Talisman realm from the eastern regions. If I exit this place, I can only return to where I came from. However, junior brother wishes to head to the northern regions. Does senior brother know of any places where I can find a senior brother to bring me out?" Qin Wentian humbly spoke. The rules of the Heavenly Talisman realm were as such. Since he opened the entrance to the Heavenly Talisman realm from the eastern regions, he could only return to where he came from. There was no way for him to exit the Heavenly Talisman realm from the other entrances unless he followed someone else out. There are many fellow apprentices staying in that direction, and they would occasionally exchange information. You can go there to seek help. That immortal king pointed to a direction. Qin Wentian nodded. "Many thanks, senior brother." After speaking, he bid his farewell. Although it has been many years since he entered the Heavenly Talisman realm, he was still unfamiliar with it. Chapter 1328. Qin Wentian followed the direction pointed out by that senior brother and as expected, he came to a place where many residences could be seen. There were many residences here and they were all closely connected. Also, there were actually many senior brothers and sisters here. Some were cultivating, some were playing chess, and there were even some who were chatting idly. Seems like the Heavenly Talisman realm was the same as well. There were all kinds of characters here. Although the disciples of the Heavenly Talisman realm didn't interfere with each other, there were still some who liked to gather together for small gatherings. In the Heavenly Talisman realm, they were all senior and junior brothers. In the outside world, they were just ordinary friends or even strangers. Naturally, given how vast the immortal realms were, the disciples of the Heavenly Talisman realm all had their own paths of cultivation. If they didn't accept the same mission, it wouldn't be easy for them to bump into each other. In addition, Qin Wentian discovered a unique point. Almost everyone here was at the immortal king realm. Junior brother pays my respects to senior brothers and sisters. Qin Wentian landed in a place with more people. There were some playing chess and some sipping tea. After Qin Wentian landed, he bowed slightly to show his respect. "Oh, it's junior brother Qin. What's the matter?" Someone turned his gaze over and smiled when he saw Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian glanced at one of them. He didn't know this senior brother, but this person directly referred to him as junior brother Qin. Clearly, this person was acquainted with him. "Senior brother, have you met me before?" Qin Wentian curiously asked. "You are so famous, it's normal to see you in the crowd." "Everyone, this little fellow is none other than the junior brother Qin Wentian who caused such a huge commotion in the eastern regions." That immortal king laughed. Many people turned their gazes to Qin Wentian, surveying him, causing Qin Wentian to feel somewhat awkward. "That fellow Bai Wuya recommended you here, right? That fellow's cultivation is extremely high and his judgment is also good." Someone spoke with envy. Yeah, back then when I first entered the Heavenly Talisman realm, that brat by Wuya was still playing around somewhere. Who would have thought that he would grow more and more powerful as time passed? Right now, he has yet to exit the Tiandao Sacred Academy. I wonder how he is doing. Junior brother Qin. When are you going to marry the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom? Someone asked with a smile. Although Qin Wenqian's current cultivation base was slightly lower, these people also understood that for someone who could cause such chaos in the eastern regions when he was only at the Immortal Foundation realm, his future accomplishments would definitely be limitless. In addition, just the people who were related to him were already extremely outstanding. Emperor Qianbian, Chongqing the Great, immortal emperors of the Namhuang clan. Naturally, those who understood this were mainly those who were active in the eastern regions. The immortal realms were simply too vast. People from the other regions weren't so clear about the situation there. Junior is also worried about this matter. Right now, many major powers are eyeing me, and it's hard for me to move about in the eastern regions. Since I'm at the threshold of the Immortal King realm, I wish to head to the northern regions to temper myself. I wonder which senior brother can bring me there? Qin Wentian spoke. You wish to head to the northern regions? A senior brother glanced at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian nodded. I do know of a good place. There's a place in the northern regions that is very suitable for you to cultivate. That immortal king spoke. Are you talking about the Dark North Immortal Mountain? Someone beside him laughed. That's right, the Dark North Immortal Mountain is also known as the Immortal Mountain of Laws. Many people from the other regions of the immortal realms didn't mind traversing vast distances just to attempt to break through to the Immortal King realm. That's indeed a good place. Also, given junior brother Qin's talent, there naturally wouldn't be any problems for you to head there. Since you came from the northern regions, why don't you bring junior brother Qin there? An older immortal king senior brother spoke. The person who spoke earlier nodded his head and stared at Qin Wentian. Shall we head there now? If senior brother has no problems, we can head there now. Qin Wentian nodded. I'm fine, let's go. That senior brother stood up. After that, his silhouette flashed as Qin Wentian followed after him. At the same time, he didn't forget to clasp his hands to everyone. Many thanks, senior brothers. Everyone stared at the departing back of Qin Wentian as they laughed. This little fellow was truly humble. If he continued on this path, he might even be stronger than Bai Wuya in the future. The two of them came to a certain location in the Heavenly Talisman realm. That senior brother at the Immortal King realm formed a spatial gate, allowing them to see the situation outside. That place seemed to be a cultivation ground, with fiery energy circulating around it. Before this, I was in closed-door seclusion there. After that, I directly came to the Heavenly Talisman realm. Let me bring you out first before we return. The Immortal King spoke as he led Qin Wentian out, directly traversing through space and arriving at the cultivation ground. A terrifying heat instantly caused Qin Wentian to feel extremely unbearable. The Immortal King unleashed his law might, enveloping Qin Wentian. After that, he stretched out his palm, causing the fire law energy in this space to gradually dissipate. The law energy on the barrier of fire also gradually dissipated. There are people outside, but you should be able to handle them. I'll return first. The Immortal King waved his hand and left, directly sending Qin Wentian back to the northern regions of the immortal realms. Boom! At this moment, the fiery immortal wall ahead exploded as the law flames danced wildly. Qin Wentian turned his gaze outwards only to see that there were actually two groups of experts fighting each other. However, at this instant, all of them stopped and turned their gazes to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian still didn't understand what was going on. A cold voice drifted over. Who are you? What treasures did you obtain in this treasure ground? The person who spoke was a young man. His gaze was sharp and exuded a pressure. His cultivation base was at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation as he coldly stared at Qin Wentian. Treasure ground? Treasure? Qin Wentian silently mused. After that, he understood. This senior brother of his was a powerful immortal king. Even though this place was a place for closed-door seclusion, it became a place where these people couldn't enter. They all mistook this place for a treasure ground and thought that there were treasures within, forming a fiery wall. Qin Wentian's gaze was cold as he glanced at that young man. He didn't reply. On the other side, an old man's eyes gleamed brightly as he surveyed Qin Wentian's body. After that, he probed, "Is Senior the one cultivating here?" This old man was extremely cautious. He couldn't sense Qin Wentian's aura, but for some senior characters, if they intentionally concealed their auras, they would be like Qin Wentian right now. Hence he had some suspicions. Qin Wentian also calmly glanced at him and didn't say anything. An old man referring to him as senior, although it was a little comical, it was still considered appropriate in terms of cultivation base. Even if he wasn't an immortal king, his cultivation base was still higher compared to the 7th level of Immortal Foundation. The eyes of the young man flickered when he heard the old man's words. He was filled with suspicions. Although Qin Wentian's aura was extraordinary, he was so young and didn't have the demeanor of an immortal king. Most probably he was here to steal treasures. "Sir, who are you? If you obtained any treasures, please hand them over." The young man spoke again, but this time around, his tone was a little warmer. Most probably he was trying to probe Qin Wentian. Scram. Qin Wentian glanced over as he spoke to the young man. A moment later, the young man's expression froze, becoming extremely unsightly to behold. What arrogant words! Could it be that this person was truly a senior who cultivated here? The young man felt a little tempted. He wanted to test Qin Wentian's cultivation base, but he didn't dare to act recklessly. If Qin Wentian was truly an immortal king, they would simply be courting death if they acted against him. "You can't hear me?" Qin Wentian frowned as a faint killing intent gushed forth. The expression of the young man changed again. He cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian and clasped his hands. "Farewell." After speaking, he waved his hand and brought his men away. His decisiveness was truly decisive. Clearly, he didn't dare to take the risk of probing Qin Wentian. Junior is from the Wan clan of Skyflame City. I pay my respects to Senior. The old man clasped his hands to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian nodded lightly, exuding an unfathomable aura as he asked, "I'm currently cultivating here. How far is Skyflame City from the Dark North Immortal Mountain?" In the Heavenly Talisman realm, the only information he obtained was about the Dark North Immortal Mountain. He naturally wanted to go there to take a look. The eyes of the old man gleamed with sharpness. The Dark North Immortal Mountain? Seems like an expert who just broke through to the Immortal King realm, wanted to use the Dark North Immortal Mountain to stabilize his foundation. "Senior, the Dark North Immortal Mountain is a sacred ground of our Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, and is located in the Dark North Royal City. Skyflame City is one of the cities of our dynasty, and now is the time for the Dark North Immortal Mountain to be opened. There are people from my Wan clan who want to head there as well. Why don't Senior follow me back to the clan and we can head there together?" The old man invited Qin Wentian. Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. In the Tiandao Sacred Academy, Li Yufeng's girlfriend Bai Mingnongyue should be a princess of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. In addition, she also has an incomparably beautiful elder sister, Princess Kitamura. Right now she should be the same as senior brother Bai Wuya, still cultivating in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Other than knowing these two, Qin Wentian knew nothing about the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. In fact, he didn't even know anything about the Dark North Immortal Mountain he wanted to head to. Right now, he truly needed to gather some information. "Okay, I will head there with you," Qin Wentian calmly spoke. "It would be my honor." That old man happily spoke. "Senior, please." Qin Wentian stepped out with the old man beside him. He then asked Senior, "Did you intentionally come to the Dark North Immortal Mountain to cultivate? Did you rush here from the other regions?" "I came from the eastern regions." Qin Wentian nodded. Given how far the distance is, didn't Senior spend a very long time? The old man continued probing. Qin Wentian calmly replied, occasionally asking some questions. Very soon he found out that Skyflame City could be considered a mid-tier city in the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. Immortal King ranked powers were as rare as the feathers of birds. An Immortal King would be able to summon the wind and rain in this city. The Wan clan that this old man was from was precisely an Immortal King ranked clan, one of the strongest clans in Skyflame City. Also, the person who fought against them earlier was someone from another Immortal King ranked power. These two powers were rivals. After finding out about this, Qin Wentian relaxed his guard. In this city there shouldn't be anyone who could threaten his life. At the same time, Qin Wentian also found out that the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom governed the world. The Dark North Immortal Mountain was a sacred cultivation ground directly governed by the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. It was extremely suitable for those who had just broken through to the Immortal King realm. However, not everyone could casually enter and cultivate there. One had to obtain the permission of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. When the Immortal Mountain opened up, the geniuses of the various powers in the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom would all head to the royal capital for a pilgrimage. Chapter 1329. Where did you say that senior is? A young man inclined his head and stared at the old man beside Qin Wentian. His eyes gleamed with sharpness, as though they contained blazing flames within. He was clad in long robes and exuded an imposing aura. Evidently, his status was extraordinary and his cultivation base was at the peak of Immortal Foundation. He doesn't seem to be someone from your Wan clan. What has this got to do with you, Wan Miaoyan? The young man from the Yin clan didn't want to lose face in front of his lover. He coldly replied, maybe it's because he misunderstood you as an immortal king earlier. In addition, it's not safe for you to leave now. The Yin clan and my Wan clan have a feud. Although Yinling is mediocre, there are a few powerful characters in the Yin clan who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Miaoyan and Yiming. If you leave now, the Yin clan might take revenge on you. The eyes of the old man flashed. He stared at Qin Wentian. Senior, you aren't an immortal king? Old sir, I'm indeed cultivating there. How can I lie to you? You refer to me as senior. I'm at the 9th level of Immortal Foundation and you are at the 7th level. As for the people from the Yin clan, their cultivation bases are inferior to mine, yet they dared to look at me coldly. Don't tell me I shouldn't reprimand them? As for heading to the Dark North Immortal Mountain, I naturally wish to do so since I'm at the peak of Immortal Foundation. What's wrong with that? Qin Wentian retorted, causing the old man to be speechless. Although it was only a step away, 9th level Immortal Foundation experts could be seen everywhere in Skyflame City. Immortal kings were considered peak characters. Regardless of the Wan clan or the Yin clan, there were many 9th level Immortal Foundation guards. The old man was stunned. He had no way to rebut. There was nothing wrong with Qin Wentian's words. Was everything really just a misunderstanding? Stepping forward, Qin Wentian stood on the city walls and stared down. There were actually many demonic beasts there, all raised by the Wan clan. Some of these demonic beasts were extremely tyrannical and powerful. Farewell then. Yinling coldly glanced at Qin Wentian before leading his men away. Qin Wentian glanced at the young woman. She had a sexy figure and was beautiful with a hint of pride on her face. Her cultivation base was at the 7th level of Immortal Foundation, the same as the old man. Although her seniority was lower, her cultivation base wasn't low. Clearly her talent wasn't bad. Just as they were talking, an aura suddenly rushed over from afar. Everyone turned around and the old man's expression changed slightly. It was someone from the Yin clan. They actually dared to come here. Take care of each other? Qin Wentian shrugged and said, it doesn't seem to be very popular. As one of the strongest powers in Skyflame City, the Wan clan was extremely imposing. Qin Wentian entered together with the old man. Before they arrived, the old man had already sent someone to inform the Wan clan. Hence, when Qin Wentian arrived, many people personally came to welcome him. The group of people in the lead all had extraordinary auras. When they saw Qin Wentian, all of them had curious gazes. The people of the Wan clan all had strange looks in their eyes. A beautiful woman with cold arrogance coldly spoke, "Third uncle, have you become muddle-headed? Maybe this man is intentionally lying to you, wanting to join our Wan clan." The Wan clan of Skyflame City was one of the strongest powers in this city. They had an immortal king as their protector, and to ordinary cities, an immortal king was already considered very powerful. Naturally, it was a different story for the capital cities of immortal empires and dynasties. Those places were rich in resources and were naturally the gathering place for experts. I heard that you also wish to head to the Dark North Immortal Mountain? A cold voice rang out. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over only to see Wan Yao's beautiful eyes staring at him. There was a hint of pride in her eyes. When he thought of this, he bitterly smiled. Since Brother Qin is already here, why don't you come to the Wan clan as a guest? Old Sir Junior will bid my farewell. Qin Wentian clasped his hands. On the way here he managed to gather some information. It didn't matter if he went to the Wan clan or not. Before this, he didn't dare to take the risk after being berated by Qin Wentian. But he was unwilling to be humiliated like this. Hence, he came to the vicinity of the Wan clan in advance and ordered his men to monitor the situation. And as expected, when he discovered that Qin Wentian wasn't an immortal king, he immediately brought his men over. These people were none other than the experts of the Yen clan who fought against the old man earlier. The young man in the lead coldly stared at Qin Wentian. Little bastard, you actually dared to lie to me? Stop flattering yourself. Another woman smiled. Third uncle, how do you plan to settle him? Wan Miaoyan calmly glanced at him before turning and departing, ignoring him. She told Yanling to scram simply because Yanling wanted to kidnap Qin Wentian. It wasn't because of Qin Wentian himself. Lie to you? Qin Wentian smiled and shook his head. When have I ever said that I'm an immortal king? The young man from the Yen clan glanced at the woman who spoke. She was clad in a windbreaker and had a face as cold as frost, exuding an extraordinary aura. The old man was more honest. He was ranked third in the Wan clan, and right now, the Wan clan was managed by his two elder brothers. Many thanks. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded to Wan Miaoyan. Since I invited you here, I naturally have to be polite. How can I let you leave? The old man shook his head, pulling Qin Wentian along. Don't worry about it. Come to my residence as a guest for a few days. After entering the Wan clan, Qin Wentian naturally gathered more information about the Dark North Immortal Mountain. It was said that not long later, the Wan clan would send people to escort Wan Miaoyan and Wan Yiming to the Dark North Immortal Kingdom. After Qin Wentian learned of this, he felt at ease and decided to stay in the Wan clan. Who are those people who spoke earlier? They seem to have high statuses in the Wan clan. Qin Wentian asked. Qin Wentian initially wanted to teach that young man a lesson, but who would have thought that before he could do anything, that young man had already fled with his tail between his legs. His gaze turned to Wan Miaoyan. This young woman had a peak-level Immortal Foundation cultivation base, and was one of the two strongest here. The other was the young man who spoke first when he arrived. Hand this bastard to me and I will leave immediately. The young man pointed to Qin Wentian. Upon seeing this man calling him a bastard, Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. Just when he was about to step out, a clear voice rang out. You want to ask for people from my Wan clan? Are you qualified? I haven't thought it through yet. The old man smiled. Yao, do you have any suggestions? Just nice, isn't Miaoyan lacking a guard to feed the demonic beast? She can be a substitute. A young man at the side laughed. After that, expressions of interest appeared on the faces of everyone. Before this, Wan Miaoyan's guard died under the hands of a demonic beast. If Qin Wentian went to feed the demonic beast, only death would await him. Brother Qin, I won't refer to you as senior. You can just call me by my name, Wanju Qing. The old man spoke to Qin Wentian. Let's enter. After that he clasped his hands to everyone. Everyone, I'm sorry. I've misunderstood. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded lightly. This man is an immortal king expert. How can he be so young? These people silently mused. Qin Wentian was speechless when he saw this scene. The old man beside him was truly acting on his own. He followed him to the Wan clan because he wanted to gather some information, and was preparing to head to the Dark North Immortal Mountain. However, the old man caused such a huge commotion, it was hard for him to explain things clearly. This step was like ascending to the heavens. No. Wan Yao coldly spoke. She glanced at Qin Wentian before turning to leave as well. The other experts also left one after another, thinking that there was really an immortal king here. However, it was just a 9th level Immortal Foundation character. There was no need for them to pay any attention to him. Wan Miaoyan. The young man from the Yen clan had an unsightly expression on his face. This young woman who spoke was one of the most outstanding geniuses in the Wan clan, possessing both beauty and talent. In Skyflame City, it was unknown how many people coveted her beauty, fantasizing about marrying her. The young man from the Yen clan also had such fantasies before. However, He knew that it wasn't realistic. Immortal king? Qin Wentian pretended not to know that the old man had misunderstood. After that, the expression of the old man changed. Sir, have you been lying to me before this? Qin Wentian followed the serving girl who came to summon him. They came to a bastion of beasts and there were many young experts of the Wan clan here. They stood together and stared at the vast land below. Qin Wentian walked behind them but none of them turned around, as though they had completely ignored his existence. People from the Yen clan actually dare to behave atrociously in the territory of my Wan clan? The old man coldly spoke. There were now two other old men beside the young man. Their eyes gleamed brightly and their cultivation bases were extremely high. Both of them were at the 9th level of Immortal Foundation. Since old sir is so kind, I Qin shall accept. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded, following Wan Zhuqing into the Wan clan. Could it be that old sir is so respectful to me because you misunderstood that I'm an immortal king? Qin Wentian smiled and shook his head, as though he didn't know anything at all. He clasped his hands. If this matter caused a misunderstanding and old sir doesn't welcome me, I Qin will take my leave. This one is. The old man pointed to Qin Wentian. The expression of the old man stiffened. I asked you if you are cultivating there and you nodded your head. I addressed you as senior and you refused to back down. Also, you directly told the people from the Yen clan to scram and you came here wanting to head to the Dark North Immortal Mountain. Are all these not counted? The person who asked me at the start was Wan Yiming, the son of my eldest brother. As for the woman who told Yen Yen to leave earlier, it was Wan Miaoyan, the daughter of my second brother. The two of them are the two with the best talent in our Wan clan and the Wan clan has high hopes for them, hoping that they would be able to enter the Dark North Immortal Mountain to cultivate. Although I have some misunderstandings with you, I can see that Brother Qin's aura is extraordinary, and since he wants to head to the Dark North Immortal Mountain, I believe that he wouldn't be an ordinary character as well. Hence, I asked Brother Qin to stay behind. What are you all doing? I only came to the Wan clan to take a walk. Why is there a need to make such a scene? Qin Wentian stared at the old man. Is there some misunderstanding? Yinling, you are truly shameless. Given your status, do you have the qualifications to question Sister Miaoyan? Scram. The woman who addressed the old man as third uncle earlier spoke, causing Yinling's expression to turn even more unsightly. Chapter 1330. Scarlet Wing's physique was gigantic, occupying an entire demonic palace. He stood there and inclined his head, staring at the young man in the air. Within his eyes, terrifying flames could be seen gushing forth. Qin Wentian's expression turned cold. He stretched out his hand and directly grabbed the divine weapon. His eyes also turned sharp as he stared at Scarlet Wing. The experts on the city walls all froze when they saw this scene. All of them had looks of disbelief on their faces. What was going on? Did Scarlet Wing go crazy today? He actually knelt before this fellow? The demonic beasts below inclined their heads as a baleful aura gushed forth, wanting to tear Qin Wentian apart. As demon immortals, they all had their own thoughts. But when they transformed into humans, there wasn't much difference between them and humans. They were forcibly captured and brought here as mounts. One could very well imagine how these demon immortals felt in their hearts. They wanted nothing more than to slaughter their way out and tear these humans apart. Naturally, there were many rebellions that occurred here. However, all of them were suppressed by iron and blood, using extremely cruel methods. What's going on? Wan Zhuqing also rushed over. When he learned that Wan Yao invited Qin Wentian here, he felt that something was amiss and immediately rushed over. After that, when he saw the scene before him, his heart shuddered with trepidation. With a flash, Qin Wentian soared forward, heading straight for the gigantic scarlet-winged demonic beast. Sister Miaoyan, we only told this man to serve Scarlet Wing. I wonder what methods he used to make Scarlet Wing act like this. Wan Yao seemed somewhat nervous. When Wan Miaoyan's gaze swept over, the demonic beasts all lowered their heads. Qin Wentian felt a little bewildered when he saw this scene. Seems like Wan Miaoyan's prestige in the Wan clan wasn't ordinary. The words of the young man were filled with mockery. Telling Qin Wentian to feed a demonic beast was an extremely despicable thing to do. However, when this man came to the Wan clan, he made everyone go out to welcome him. This caused many people to feel extremely unhappy. After speaking, he left together with Qin Wentian. On the way, Wan Zhuqing bitterly smiled at Qin Wentian as he shook his head. Luckily Miaoyan didn't hold this against you. You almost got harmed by Yao. In the future, if she invites you again, just ignore it. Just wait until it's time to move out and we can head to the royal capital together. Although third uncle allowed you to come along, if you don't prove your strength, there's no need for our Wan clan to bring you along. Wan Yao's voice was cold as she stared ahead. When they saw Qin Wentian floating forward, the people on the city wall all revealed gloating expressions. Controlling red wings? Courting death. After speaking, she flew away. Crimson Wing roared and tossed Qin Wentian off. Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed, only to see Crimson Wing leaving together with Wan Miaoyan. Before this woman, Crimson Wing was like a tamed sheep. Kneel. Qin Wentian coldly transmitted his voice, his words ringing out in Crimson Wing's mind. A look of terror flashed in Crimson Wing's eyes as his body involuntarily trembled. With a loud thud, his gigantic body directly prostrated on the ground. Terror filled his heart. How could this be? He actually felt an intense fear and a desire to submit. Third uncle, you invited this man to the Wan clan, but this man doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. I wonder what methods he used to make Crimson Wing behave like this. Why are you still not kneeling and apologizing? Wan Yao icily spoke, pushing all the blame onto Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian laughed silently. Most probably, the Wan clan thought that he had a favor to ask of them. He had too many methods to head there himself. Initially, he wanted to leave, but Wan Zhuqing urged him to stay. But since they wanted to see him taming demonic beasts, he might as well let them watch. These people, including Wan Yao, were all afraid of her. An instant later, Wan Miaoyan turned and left, leaving behind a cold voice. This time around, I will give face to third uncle. But if there's a next time, don't blame me for being impolite. You are the one messing around, right? Wan Zhuqing was somewhat unhappy. He stared at Wan Miaoyan and spoke, Miaoyan, right now, Brother Qin shouldn't know that I'm the one who invited him to the Wan clan. I'm planning to let him follow you and Yiming so that you can take care of each other. Crimson Wing snorted. He stood up, as though he also felt an innate fear towards Wan Miaoyan. These two were people he couldn't afford to offend. I told you to kneel. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice again. His eyes gleamed with a blood-colored light, resembling a true demon king. A blood-colored bolt of lightning directly shot into Crimson Wing's eyes. Crimson Wing actually knelt to the ground and lowered his head. His entire body trembled uncontrollably, appearing extremely terrified. Wan Miaoyan remained silent, her expression was as cold as ever. She glanced at Qin Wentian again before calling out to her mount, Crimson Wing, Brother Qin is a guest. How can you speak in such a manner? Wan Yao coldly spoke, causing the laughter of everyone to stop. Wan Yao turned her gaze to Qin Wentian, pointing to a demonic beast far away. Over there was a greater demon whose entire body was bathed in flames. This was a variation-type demon immortal that had the body of a tiger or leopard and the wings of a bird. Its entire body was fiery red and its eyes were extremely terrifying, as though they could shoot out flames. When everyone heard Wan Yao's words, expressions of interest appeared on their faces. They knew that Wan Yao intentionally wanted to probe Qin Wentian's strength. Before this, he came here in such a domineering manner. The entire Skyflame clan came out to welcome him. Now, she even wanted to bring him to the Dark North Immortal Mountain. However, because of Wan Zhuqing, everyone didn't dare to say anything. But if Qin Wentian's strength wasn't enough and he died in the hands of a demonic beast, he couldn't blame them. That's Sister Miaoyan's demonic beast mount, Crimson Wing. If you want to head to the Dark North Immortal Mountain, you have to prove your strength first. If you can control this demonic beast, you can come with us. Wan Yao pointed to the demonic beast as she spoke. Scram, don't make me act personally. A voice filled with killing intent rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. It was actually a voice transmission. Qin Wentian stared at the Crimson Wing. This fellow could be considered the one with the best treatment. This figure had an extraordinary bearing and was extremely handsome. His face was filled with coldness, and when he glanced at his mount, Crimson Wing, his expression turned even colder. In addition, the demonic beast he fed was Wan Miaoyan's demonic beast mount. It wouldn't be a humiliation to him. Many people were waiting for such an opportunity to get closer to Wan Miaoyan. After that, the people of the Wan clan could only do their best to serve her. How would they dare to make the Crimson Wing kneel and stand on its back? Although she and Yiming are the two great geniuses of our Wan clan, in truth, the old patriarch favors Miaoyan more. Her talent is much higher compared to Yiming. As for how strong she is now, I'm not too sure. Wan Zhuqing shook his head. Qin Wentian didn't say anything more. Is Wan Miaoyan really so powerful? Qin Wentian casually smiled. It was like Wan Zhuqing was certain that if Wan Miaoyan was to be calculative, he would definitely be in a miserable state. Wan Zhuqing heaved a sigh of relief. Clearly, he was worried that Wan Miaoyan would really act against Qin Wentian. If that's the case, he would truly be letting down Qin Wentian. Everyone was still as silent as cicadas in winter. Even Wan Zhuqing, the third uncle of the Wan clan, couldn't compare to Wan Miaoyan. Wan Miaoyan was someone the old patriarch regarded highly, and might be another immortal king of the Wan clan. From this, one could very well imagine her status. What? You don't even dare to ride on a demonic beast? You still want to head to the Dark North Immortal Mountain? Someone crossed his arms in front of his chest as he mocked. Back then, there was a direct descendant of the Wan clan who approached Crimson Wing, causing Crimson Wing to be enraged. That descendant brought some people over to beat Crimson Wing up. When Wan Miaoyan learned of this, she returned a tooth for a tooth, beating up those who acted against Crimson Wing. All of them were heavily injured, causing the people of the Wan clan to shudder. Nobody dared to help those who were beaten up. Wan Miaoyan said that only she could control her mount. Only you are qualified to stand on the mount of Sister Miaoyan. Wan Yao coldly spoke. The expressions of the people in the surroundings all turned extremely unsightly, as though they were filled with fear. At this moment, a figure flashed over from afar. Many experts followed behind her, exuding an imposing aura. Qin Wentian descended and directly stood on Crimson Wing's back. He turned his head and stared at Wan Yao and the others. Is this the case? Qin Wentian could sense the baleful aura from these demonic beasts. He treated Little Rascal and Purgatory as his kin and companions, but there were many experts in the immortal realms who were different from him. They treated these demonic beasts purely as mounts and wouldn't care about emotions. In addition, many of these demonic beasts were controlled by special methods and had no way to escape. Wan Yao's eyes turned cold. Wan Zhuqing stared at her. Yao, stop messing around. Weren't you guys the ones who wanted me to control these demonic beasts? Qin Wentian frowned. After that, he saw those experts moving forward. A fiery red whip appeared in Wan Yao's hands, exuding a fearsome aura. She then swung it towards Qin Wentian, aiming for Qin Wentian's body. Qin Wentian landed on the ground. The look in Crimson Wing's eyes grew even more baleful. In an instant, a fearsome aura enveloped Qin Wentian. In just an instant, Qin Wentian was enveloped by a terrifying heat. This Crimson Wing was a peak-stage demon immortal. Qin Wentian coldly glanced at her. After that, he released the whip and spoke to Wan Zhuqing. Old sir, let's go. The lips of everyone curled up in an expression of interest. This was the demonic beast mount of Wan Miaoyan. In order to serve this demonic beast, many experts have already died. Even 9th-level Immortal Foundation guards died in the hands of Crimson Wing. Yet, they wanted Qin Wentian to control Crimson Wing? Yao was truly intelligent. Why are you still not scramming down? Wan Yao coldly spoke to Qin Wentian. Only she alone could sit on Wan Miaoyan's mount. Everyone had to do their best to serve her. This was why Crimson Wing dared to kill so many experts. And now, Qin Wentian wanted Crimson Wing to kneel and stand on its back. What methods did you use exactly? Wan Yao stared at Qin Wentian. Her voice was as cold as ever. Beast taming? Qin Wentian shook his head. Impudent. Wan Yao's countenance changed slightly, and her expression suddenly became extremely cold. She scolded. The other experts also revealed a cold expression and said, "Get down here." A demonic light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. In just an instant, his demonic eyes resembled that of a descendant of a demon god, unexcelled in the world. With a single glance, he directly penetrated Crimson Wing's eyes, bringing with him a terrifying might that could cause all demons to prostrate before him. Chapter 1331. For the next period of time, Qin Wentian quietly cultivated in the residence Wan Zhuqing arranged for him. To him, the matters of the Wan clan weren't even worth a mention. He could leave whenever he wanted to. It was only because Wan Zhuqing repeatedly urged him to stay that he chose to stay. One night, while cultivating, Qin Wentian suddenly heard the sound of a zither. This zither music was pleasing to the ear and contained an artistic conception. Qin Wentian, who was sitting cross-legged, gradually dispersed his aura. He slowly opened his eyes, and there was a hint of laziness in his eyes. It was as though he wanted to let go of all his obsessions and live a carefree life with his beloved. This zither music is interesting. Qin Wentian suddenly laughed. He didn't know what kind of person would be able to create such a state of mind. Beauty in the heart, as though it had seen through the mortal world. Yet it also seemed as though it had no attachment to power or cultivation. He stood up and with a flash of his silhouette, he walked out. An instant later, he arrived at the rooftop of a courtyard. He looked down and saw a woman in the courtyard with a veil covering her face. She was quietly playing the zither, and the sound of the zither was melodious. It was as though she had forgotten everything in the mortal world. So young. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. It was very hard to imagine that such a melody was played by an extremely young maiden. Although her face was covered by a veil, one could still see how beautiful her countenance was. Her white robes fluttered in the wind, resembling a goddess under the moonlight, as though she was an immortal. Only with a pure state of mind could one play the zither music. Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. He lay on the roof and listened quietly, not making a single sound. Even when the ethereal zither music gradually dissipated, he was still lying there lazily, as though he was enjoying it very much. Is it impolite to peep at her like this? A gentle and elegant voice drifted over. Qin Wentian slowly opened his eyes as he sat up. He stared at the maiden and smiled. I was influenced by the zither music and couldn't control my emotions. I apologize for my rudeness, please forgive me. Since you know it's impolite, why didn't you leave? The woman asked softly. Your zither music is out of this world. You seem to yearn for this path and you don't like to cultivate. Why is your cultivation so high? Qin Wentian smiled and said, the people in the residence say that Wan Miaoyan and Wan Yiming are the two great geniuses of the Wan clan. However, I can see that Mrs. Cultivation is on par with them, and the attainments you've shown in your zither music are also very deep. Your talent shouldn't be any worse than theirs. I'm a little curious. The beautiful eyes of the woman flashed with a strange light. Inclining her head, her pure and flawless eyes stared at Qin Wentian, who was on the roof, as she replied, I don't like to cultivate. There's no meaning in such a comparison. It's just that the majority of the people in the manor hate my zither music. Since you can see through my cultivation base with a single glance, your cultivation base shouldn't be weak. Why would you be attracted by my music? Because I don't like cultivation either. Qin Wentian smiled. Cultivation has always been a very boring thing. If you can immerse yourself in something you like to do, to play the zither, to write a book, to travel the world with the person you love, that is the true beauty of the world. The woman glanced at Qin Wentian in astonishment and smiled. How can it be so beautiful? Therefore I have no choice but to cultivate. Even though cultivation is a boring thing, it is what I pursue. My obsession is strong because there are many beautiful things in the world that can only be realized through cultivation. Qin Wentian shrugged. The woman stared at him. Did this person understand what she was trying to express in her music? In that case, you still like to cultivate. The woman smiled and stared at Qin Wentian. My name is Jiyin. You live up to your name. My name is Qin Wentian. Smiling, Qin Wentian bid his farewell. I apologize for disturbing you. Goodbye. After that, his silhouette flickered as he left this place. During this period of time in the Wan clan, Qin Wentian would often listen to the music of the zither. He enjoyed it quite a bit. One day Wan Zhuqing came and asked Qin Wentian, Are you used to this place? It's alright, it's just that I'm often disturbed by the music. Qin Wentian smiled as he stared at Wan Zhuqing. His words caused Wan Zhuqing's expression to change. You don't like the music of the zither as well? Qin Wentian smiled at Wan Zhuqing, causing Wan Zhuqing to smile bitterly and shake his head. This music is quite interesting. You arranged for me to be here because you want me to get in touch with a soulmate, right? Qin Wentian said with a smile. How could he not know what Wan Zhuqing was thinking? Wan Zhuqing started. After that, he smiled, Brother Qin, to tell you the truth, Jin is my daughter. This time around, I kept trying to persuade you to stay in the Wan clan because I have my own selfish motives. You should know that my cultivation base is weak. Although I'm an elder, even Yao wouldn't respect me. Jin's talent is extremely high, but she doesn't like to cultivate. She's obsessed with the four arts and rarely appears outside. In fact, many people don't even know of her existence. There are even some people in the same generation who have a conflict with her. Old Sir wants me to go together with the Wan clan because Jin would be heading there as well? Qin Wentian smiled, instantly understanding Wan Zhuqing's intentions. Yes, the Dark North Immortal Mountain is an opportunity for Jin. I've already persuaded her to go, but I'm worried that she might suffer some losses on the way there. It would be difficult for her to rely on the younger generations of the Wan clan to take care of her. Hence, I wish to travel together with Brother Qin so that we can take care of each other. Naturally, if Brother Qin doesn't like it, just pretend that I didn't say anything. If Brother Qin blames me for being selfish and wants to leave, I will send you off. Wan Zhuqing sincerely spoke. Qin Wentian silently mused. Just like what he said to Jin back then, the beauty of the world can only be realized through the path of cultivation. Wan Zhuqing loved his daughter, but he also knew that his strength was weak. Even as an elder, his status wasn't high and he had to ask an outsider like him to take care of his daughter. Most probably he felt helpless. Okay. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. Wan Zhuqing didn't expect Qin Wentian to agree so straightforwardly. A look of joy appeared on his face as he spoke. I thank Brother Qin. I will go with you on this trip as well. Getting rid of Brother Qin is also a way for us to take care of each other. If we really encounter any unfathomable dangers, Brother Qin can just leave on your own. Qin Wentian nodded lightly and didn't say anything. Wan Zhuqing clasped his hands. Brother Qin, rest well. The day of departure is nearing. At that time, I will come back to invite Brother Qin to go with me. Qin Wentian nodded. Wan Zhuqing then left. Staring at his departing back, Qin Wentian smiled. Everyone has their own selfish motives. He naturally wouldn't mind Wan Zhuqing's little thoughts. It was fine as long as Wan Zhuqing was honest. In any case, Fairy Yuxiao was also an interesting character. Several days later, outside the Wan clan's manor, many experts gathered. These were all elites of the Wan clan, and they were all preparing to escort the young masters and young mistresses of the Wan clan to the royal capital of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. The journey was extremely long, and they would need to rely on teleportation arrays. Initially, the young masters and young mistresses could head there alone, but because their destination was the incomparably powerful royal capital, the old master of the Wan clan was worried and sent people to escort them. In the crowd, Crimson Wing's physique was incomparably gigantic. Wan Miaoyan stood on top of Crimson Wing, exuding an unexcelled aura. Wan Yiming stood on a powerful flame dragon formed from astral energy, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. The two of them were in the center of the crowd, and there were many peak stage Immortal Foundation elders of the Wan clan as guards. There was also the second brother of the Wan clan personally guarding them. He glanced at his beloved daughter Wan Miaoyan as a smile appeared on his face. The Dark North Immortal Mountain. He hoped that Miaoyan would have a chance to break through to the Immortal King realm. At the borders there was a sedan pulled by demonic beasts. The sedan was extremely large and the interior was as comfortable as a room. A veiled maiden quietly sat within. Wan Zhuqing and Qin Wentian were there as well. Move out. At this moment Wan Miaoyan's father Wan Qingyun gave the order. A moment later, a group of experts soared into the air, flying towards the royal capital. Inside the sedan, Qin Wentian smiled at the maiden before him. Miss Jean, why do you like to wear a veil? I'm used to it. Jean spoke in a light voice. With a wave of her hand, she took out a brush, ink, paper and inkstone and actually started to paint in the sedan. Just like what Wan Zhuqing said, she liked the four arts. Lifting her brush, she casually drew as a portrait of a person appeared. Qin Wentian stared at the outline as he started. So it turned out that the person in the portrait was actually him. When the portrait was completed, a handsome young man with a gentle and refined demeanor appeared. This young man looked exactly the same as him, extremely miraculous. Miss Jean is not only skilled in the zither, your painting skills are shocking as well. Qin Wentian sighed. The him in the portrait seemed to be alive, exuding a divine charm. In fact, there was even a faint smile on his face, as though he wanted to walk out from the portrait. Sir Qin, please excuse me. Jean spoke in a light voice. Actually, cultivation is extremely wondrous. The myriad Daos of the myriad of Daos are all interconnected. Miss Jean doesn't like to cultivate, yet her talent is extremely high. Some might not understand, but to me it's only natural. Her heart is pure and flawless, and she has high attainments in both the zither and painting. If Miss Jean were to cultivate in divine inscriptions, her talent would definitely be extremely high as well. Qin Wentian smiled. Wan Zhuqing's eyes gleamed with sharpness. Qin Wentian's words seemed simple, yet they were all connected to the logic of cultivation, causing him to feel enlightened. In addition, he recalled an incident that happened many years ago, causing him to be filled with admiration for Qin Wentian. Although Jean had never cultivated in divine inscriptions before, she managed to easily inscribe an extremely powerful divine inscription. I don't dare to accept Sir Qin's words. Jean shook her head lightly. The journey here is boring. I wonder if I can enjoy the beautiful melody of the zither? Qin Wentian asked. Jean's eyes flickered. After that, she nodded her head lightly. She took out her zither and started to play. Qin Wentian closed his eyes and quietly admired the melody. His state of heart became calm and tranquil, as though he wanted to cast aside everything. He didn't reject such thoughts. Humans would naturally have too many distracting thoughts. In addition, the reason why he wanted to listen to Jean's zither music was because he could faintly sense a strange feeling from it, yet he couldn't grasp it. Enough. But very swiftly, a voice of reproach rang out, interrupting the melody. Qin Wentian opened his eyes as he furrowed his brows. Jean smiled, keeping her zither as she stared at Qin Wentian with an apologetic look on her face. Thinking too highly of yourself. A mocking voice rang out. The person who spoke was none other than Wan Yao. Since you don't like to cultivate, why is there a need to head to the royal capital of the dynasty? The mocking voices weren't masked at all. Wan Zhuqing's expression changed, but Jean didn't seem to mind at all, as though she was long used to it. Qin Wentian felt somewhat puzzled. Although Wan Zhuqing's cultivation base was low, Jean's talent was extraordinary. Why were these people so unhappy with her? Most probably, there must be a reason behind this. The journey was very long. Qin Wentian would occasionally close his eyes to cultivate, and he would also seal himself to listen to Jean's zither music. It was truly interesting along the way. They even passed through several teleportation arrays and finally, sighs of admiration drifted over from the outside world. We've arrived at the royal capital. After entering the royal capital, make sure to keep a low profile and don't offend anyone. Wan Qingshan commanded. In the royal capital, there was no one they couldn't afford to offend. Qin Wentian opened his eyes and smiled. We've arrived already? Traveling together with the Wan clan truly saved him a lot of trouble. This was also one of the reasons why he chose to stay in the Wan clan. Chapter 1332. The Hokage Sengoku Kingdom was a peak power of the northern regions. Qin Wentian had no way to know how strong it was exactly, but he was sure that it wouldn't be weaker compared to the Evergreen Kingdom that had just experienced a civil war. For such an immortal dynasty, how many experts would there be in the royal capital? No wonder Wan Qingshan gave the order not to offend anyone. The Skyflame city they were in was merely an insignificant little city to the royal capital. An immortal king clan might be able to reign supreme in Skyflame city, but over here, any immortal king would be able to easily destroy them. The people of the Wan clan all had looks of curiosity and excitement on their faces, surveying this majestic royal capital. Each and every street was like a winding dragon, majestic and majestic. The people here were all at the immortal foundation realm, and there were many immortal kings here. There were even immortal kings passing by them. Only in the sedan, Jean was still focused on her painting. There were no distractions in her heart, as though she didn't have much interest in this majestic royal capital. Uncle Wan, There's something I don't understand. Qin Wentian spoke to Wan Zhuqing. During the journey here, the two of them were already very familiar with each other. Qin Wentian also became much closer to him, directly referring to him as Uncle Wan. I know what you are puzzled about. There's no need to hide this. You should know the temperament of this last Jiyin. She stands aloof from worldly affairs. In Skyflame City, there are a few major powers as strong as the Wan clan, and there would often be conflicts between the younger generations. However, when the Wan clan hoped that Jiyin would fight for the Wan clan, this last actually didn't act at all. You should understand now, right? Wan Zhuqing bitterly smiled as he shook his head. Qin Wentian was astonished. After that, he laughed speechlessly. He didn't think that this matter was so funny. These clans all cared about face and there would always be competitions. Jiyin clearly had talent, but she didn't participate, never fighting for the sake of her clan. She would naturally be ostracized. Jiyin, you are truly special. Qin Wentian smiled at the young woman before him. Jiyin put down the brush and paper in her hands. Over the past few days, she had drawn many portraits of Qin Wentian and Wan Zhuqing. Each of them had a different charm. Even Qin Wentian himself didn't know that he could have so many different poses. Is it special? Why aren't you guys special? Jiyin raised her head and looked at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian blinked. He was actually speechless. Yes, we are special. Qin Wentian nodded. Jiyin smiled, after which she rolled up the scrolls and kept them. Why do you need so many paintings? Qin Wentian asked. Look, Jiyin said. Watch. Qin Wentian was confused. And of course I will. Don't you think that you are quite handsome? Jiyin looked at Qin Wentian seriously. Qin Wentian started. Wan Zhuqing, who was at the side, couldn't help but laugh uproariously. This lass was able to kill Qin Wentian with just a few words. Uncle Wan, I discovered that not only is Jiyin's talent good, she also has a good point. Qin Wentian glanced at Wan Zhuqing. What good point? Wan Zhuqing was somewhat interested. You have good eyesight. Qin Wentian spoke with a straight face. Wan Zhuqing and Jiyin exchanged glances before both of them started laughing. Jiyin's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian as she smiled. Although you are quite handsome, your skin is also quite thick. Qin Wentian touched his own face and seriously replied. It's still okay. Wentian Jiyin, you guys are quite compatible. Wan Zhuqing was in a good mood and also started joking. However, his joke seemed to have gone overboard. Qin Wentian and Jiyin were completely stunned. After that, an awkward silence. Cough cough, I was just casually speaking. Wan Zhuqing tried to smooth things over when he saw their awkward expressions. He was indeed just casually speaking. I have never traveled far before. I have no idea what the royal capital is like. Jiyin was intelligent and intentionally changed the topic. She lifted the curtains and stared at the royal capital outside. Since the Dark North Immortal Mountain is opening, wouldn't countless experts from the entire Hokage Sengoku Kingdom be rushing there? Qin Wentian also understood Jiyin's awkwardness. He asked Wan Zhuqing. The Dark North Immortal Mountain only opens once every 10 years, and there would indeed be countless experts coming. However, it wouldn't be too exaggerated. After all, the Dark North Immortal Mountain is just there, and it only opens once every 10 years. To those who are already at the Immortal King Realm or those who are already at the Immortal King Realm, it's a very short period of time. Many people would only come when they are more confident. After all, it isn't an easy matter to traverse territories. That's right, even if you miss it, it would only be 10 years. However, there should be many people at the same cultivation realm in the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. Even if only a portion of them came, it would surely be a terrifying number. Right now, this royal capital would definitely be filled with people from all over the world. Qin Wentian nodded. That's only natural. Wan Zhuqing nodded. Seems like this is going to be a grand occasion for the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. Qin Wentian laughed. I heard in Skyflame City that Princess Nongyue's cultivation base is already extremely high, and she has already broken through to the Immortal King Realm, comprehending Immortal King might. This means that she can also enter the Dark North Immortal Mountain to gain insights. In that case, the grand occasion for the Immortal Foundation expert Wu Xiu might be hosted by Princess Nongyue. At that time, Wentian, you would be able to meet an extremely famous princess of our Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. It's rumored that she's a great beauty. Wan Zhuqing laughed. Baiming Nongyue? A figure appeared in Qin Wentian's mind. With regards to this princess of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, he did have a good impression of her because of Li Yufeng. That couple was also a very interesting couple. She's indeed a beauty, but she already has someone in her heart. Qin Wentian spoke. Wan Zhuqing stared at Qin Wentian as he furrowed his brows. He then smiled. Wentian, you speak as though you have met Princess Nongyue before. As for the person in her heart, I've never heard of him before. Why don't you tell me about him? The saint child of the 100 Refinements sect, Li Yufeng. Qin Wentian laughed. You have actually heard of the name of the saint child of the 100 Refinements sect before? Seems like I'm truly ignorant. Wan Zhuqing naturally knew of the 100 Refinements sect. They were also a peak power of the northern regions, and were neighbors to the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. As for the saint child and Li Yufeng, he wasn't very clear about them. After all, this wasn't something related to the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom. Qin Wentian saw Wan Zhuqing staring at him. He then asked, what's wrong? You are truly good at joking. You speak as though you really know about it. Wan Zhuqing laughed. Qin Wentian blinked his eyes and laughed as well, but he didn't explain anything. After all, to Wan Zhuqing, regardless of Baiming Nongyue or the saint child of the 100 Refinements sect, they were all characters above the clouds. No matter how good Qin Wentian's talent was, he was merely a minor character in front of them. How would a minor character know about matters above the clouds? Are you joking? Shameless is the correct word. Outside, a mocking voice drifted over. These two are truly interesting. One thinks he's aloof and virtuous, while the other is even more laughable. He actually used Princess Nongyue and the saint child of the 100 Refinements sect to raise himself up. How shameless. Third uncle, you are right, the two of them are truly compatible. This voice belonged to Wan Yao. Clearly, she had been eavesdropping on the conversation inside. Wan Zhuqing's expression changed. Yao, don't speak nonsense. Third uncle, do you think I'm wrong? In that case, why don't you ask the others? Wan Yao coldly laughed. Many people outside started laughing as well. Princess Nongyue, saint child of the 100 Refinements sect, these are true dragons among humans. To think that there's actually someone here who doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Since I'm a scoundrel, I won't go so far as to eavesdrop on the conversation of others. Qin Wentian laughed. No matter how much I boast, what does it have to do with you guys? Since you are a guard of my Wan clan, you naturally have something to do with it. You actually still have the face to sit in the sedan? How shameless. Wan Yao spoke again. Yao, you are too much. Wentian is my guest. Do you want to question my arrangements? Wan Zhuqing coldly spoke. At the same time, he patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder, indicating for him not to argue pointlessly and to endure it for now. Third uncle, since you are so protective of an outsider, what else can I say? Wan Yao coldly snorted. At this moment outside the royal capital, another group of experts entered. This group of experts was extremely majestic, and the people in the lead all exuded an extraordinary aura. This was especially so for a young man with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. His handsome face exuded a carefree aura as he entered the royal capital with a smile on his face. Yufeng, this time around you didn't come to the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, just for the sake of the Dark North Immortal Mountain, right? I heard that this time around, Baiming Nongyue might be the host of the banquet. A young man at the side laughed as he stared at Li Yufeng. A smile appeared on Li Yufeng's handsome face. This time around, he naturally didn't come here just for the sake of entering the Dark North Immortal Mountain. Why don't you say something? Are you preparing to come to the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom to propose marriage? The young man at the side laughed. If I came here just like that, would the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom agree to it? Li Yufeng laughed. That's hard to say. Maybe the emperor of the dynasty saw your talent and directly wanted to recruit you as his son-in-law, agreeing to this marriage. You really know how to think. Li Yufeng spoke. It's rumored that Baiming Nongyue's elder sister, Princess Kitamura, is a supreme beauty, famous throughout the northern regions. However, I've never seen her countenance before. Sadly, she's still in the Tiandao Sacred Academy. Seems like I won't have a chance to see her. Yufeng, you saw her before. How is she compared to Baiming Nongyue? The young man at the side laughed. If we are comparing beauty, Princess Kitamura is more outstanding. Li Yufeng replied, admitting that Princess Kitamura was indeed a supreme beauty. I really want to see her for myself. Haha. That person laughed. The group of people rode on their powerful treasures and soared through the air like bolts of lightning, directly flying past the heads of Qin Wentian's group. The people of the Wan clan inclined their heads and stared at those people in the air. They were thinking in their hearts that these people should be from major powers, right? Their treasures were all so powerful. Qin Wentian was in the sedan and didn't mind. After all, although his immortal sense was very strong, he wouldn't release it for no reason. Chapter 1333. Wan Miaoyan inclined her head and stared at the departing figures in the air. Although the auras of some of these people weren't strong and their cultivation bases might be on the same level as her, the aura they exuded was sufficient to make one feel what it means to be a supreme character. Miaoyan, you only lack an opportunity. This trip to the royal capital is your good fortune. Not only do you want to enter the Dark North Immortal Mountain for cultivation, I hope that you would be able to gain some good fortune in the royal capital and enter the tutelage of an expert. The Wan clan is no longer suitable for you. At this moment, Wan Miaoyan's father, Wan Qingshan, spoke. I wish to take a look at the royal palace. Wan Miaoyan spoke in a light voice. Since we are already in the royal capital, we naturally have to take a look outside the royal palace. Wan Qingshan nodded, his eyes filled with reverence. They came from a small city in the dynasty, and might only be able to come to the royal capital a few times in their lives. To them, the royal palace was a place of pilgrimage. Going to the royal palace to take a look? The people in the surroundings were all extremely agitated, as though they were on a pilgrimage. To think that I would be able to see the royal palace of my dynasty in my lifetime. Wan Zhuqing, who was in the sedan, also sighed, his state of heart fluctuating slightly. The two young men beside him were much calmer. Wentian, you are so young and might have great accomplishments in the future. Don't you yearn for it? Wan Zhuqing stared at Qin Wentian. I naturally yearn for it. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. Before this, Wan Zhuqing didn't dare to believe him when he casually mentioned the matter between Baiming Nongyue and Li Yufeng. He naturally wouldn't say that he could freely enter and exit the royal palace of the Evergreen Kingdom. They continued on their way, and after a long time, they finally arrived outside the royal palace. The three of them exited the sedan and stared at the majestic city in front of them. It was extremely majestic, with layers upon layers of palaces stretching up into the clouds. It was like a majestic city that descended from the heavens. A single glance at it would cause reverence to appear in the hearts of people, as though they wanted to prostrate themselves and kowtow to it. Jean also seriously stared ahead, as though she wanted to carve the image of this majestic city into her mind. You want to draw it again? Qin Wentian stared at the serious expression in Jean's eyes as he smiled. Jean nodded lightly. Such a scene, if she could stay in the painting, would definitely be extremely beautiful. One day, I will also step into such a majestic city. One of the two heavens chosen, Wan Yiming, had a sharp gaze as flames burned in his eyes. Wan Miaoyan silently stared ahead. Her heart was also fluctuating. She clenched her fists as her beautiful eyes flashed with a strong conviction. Looking at the figures going in and out of the imperial palace, those were all high and mighty figures. One day they would also become such people. Let's go. Wan Miaoyan calmly spoke. Wan Qingshan nodded. The group of them changed their direction, and after that, they inquired about the location of the Dark North Immortal Mountain before continuing on their way. The Dark North Immortal Mountain was located not far away from the royal capital. There was a stretch of mountain range here, and outside of this mountain range, there was an independent region that resembled a city within a city. This region was a place one had to pass through if they wanted to enter the Dark North Immortal Mountain, and it was also a place where experts who wished to enter the Immortal Mountain had to stop. Therefore, it was naturally extremely prosperous. Especially when the 10-year period was about to arrive, there would be a sea of people, and the streets would be empty. Experts from all over the world would gather in all the inns and restaurants, and it was extremely lively. After the people of the Wan clan arrived, they found an inn to rest their feet. Each of the inns here was extremely large and had independent courtyards, as well as places to enjoy delicacies. At this moment, the people of the Wan clan were seated in a circle, enjoying immortal-tasting delicacies. Many of the delicacies that could be enjoyed by immortals were cooked using immortal herbs and spirit beasts. If not, how could immortals be able to satisfy their cravings for good food? With regards to ordinary food, immortals no longer needed it. They wouldn't be interested in it at all. The people of the Wan clan were all enjoying themselves. These delicacies were all extremely expensive, and they spent a lot of immortal stones on them. It was rare for them to come to the royal capital, and the people who came here were all elites of their respective clans. They naturally wanted to be a little extravagant. Let me offer a toast to everyone. Let us congratulate Miaoyan and Wan Yiming in advance for being able to enter the Dark North Immortal Mountain and break through to the Immortal King realm, bringing glory to our clan. Wan Qingshan raised his cup to everyone as he spoke. Everyone raised their cups and drank with the exception of a small table at the side. Among Qin Wentian's group of 3, only Wan Zhuqing raised his cup. Qin Wentian and Jin acted as though they didn't hear it. This Wan Qingshan only congratulated Wan Miaoyan and Wan Yiming in advance. Wasn't he ignoring Jin as well? Sister Miaoyan and elder brother naturally have no problems. In the future, our Wan clan would have several immortal kings. At that time, I want to see how the Yin clan can still be so arrogant. Wan Yao smiled. The group of them were filled with confidence, as though they were consoling themselves. The people at the side glanced over, but most of them merely smiled. For those who came to the Dark North Immortal Mountain, who didn't want to break through to the Immortal King realm, all of them were filled with confidence, but how could it be so easy to step into the Immortal King realm? Everyone. At this moment, an old man with the air of a transcendent being clasped his hands. The people of the Wan clan turned their gazes to this old man only to hear Wan Qingshan speaking. Old sir, what guidance do you have for us? Just like what he said in the royal capital, Wan Qingshan didn't dare to casually offend anyone. This old man pointed to a table at the side. Over there, a young man with an elegant demeanor was drinking alone, exuding an air of arrogance. Behind him there was an expert quietly standing there like a bodyguard. This is the young master of my clan, a member of the Duanmu clan. That old man introduced. After that, Wan Qingshan's expression turned heavy. He clasped his hands to the young man. Wan Qingshan pays his respects to young master Duanmu. And the young man nodded, as arrogant as ever. He didn't even glance at the Wan clan. Wan Qingshan's eyes flashed. After that, he slowly lowered his hand, feeling trepidation in his heart. Drinking alone is boring. Can I invite a young miss over to drink with me? That young man calmly spoke, placing his wine cup down. His gaze landed on Wan Miaoyan. Wan Miaoyan's looks were extraordinary and would naturally attract attention. Wan Qingshan's expression froze. Wan Miaoyan's eyes flashed with a strange light. This was the first time they met, and he actually invited someone to drink with him? Such an abrupt action was extremely disrespectful. However, the other party was a descendant of an aristocrat clan in the royal capital. How could the Wan clan dare to offend him? Why? Are you not willing? The young man frowned as a cold intent gushed forth. The gazes of the people in the surroundings turned over. Some had looks of pity on their faces while others had the attitude of watching a good show. Naturally not. Wan Qingshan spoke. He turned his gaze to Qin Wentian. Jin, go and accompany young master Duanmu for a drink. Wan Zhuqing and Jin's expressions both changed. The gaze of that young man shifted from Wan Miaoyan and landed on Jin. Jin's aura was simple and elegant, clean and transcendent. The young man's interest was piqued as he spoke. Remove your veil. Jin clenched her fists as her body stiffened. Evidently, she was extremely unwilling to be threatened by a man. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with sharpness. He directly stared into the eyes of that young man and spoke, Young Master Duanmu. The young man glanced at Qin Wentian as he frowned. Did I speak to you? I only wish to ask what sort of aristocrat clan is the Duanmu clan in the royal capital? Is it an immortal emperor aristocrat clan, or an immortal king aristocrat clan? Qin Wentian laughed. His eyes gleamed with a golden light, as though he could see through everything. The eyes of the young man flickered with a strange light. He suddenly had a feeling that all his secrets would be seen through by Qin Wentian's eyes. What did you say? The young man's voice turned cold. The old man in front of the Wan clan also radiated a cold intent as he coldly laughed at the Wan clan. Wan Qingshan's expression changed. Impudent. Do you think you have the qualifications to speak here? Qin Wentian's gaze also turned sharp. Before this, on account of Wan Zhuqing, he couldn't be bothered with these words of contempt and couldn't be bothered with these people. However, Wan Qingshan didn't hesitate to push Jin away. How shameless! Qin Wentian finally understood why Wan Zhuqing asked him to come along. Most probably, Wan Zhuqing knew that it might not be a good thing for Jin to travel together with the Wan clan. As an elder of the Wan clan, the first thing you thought of when you encountered such a situation is to sacrifice your own niece. How shameless are you? Qin Wentian spoke in disdain. If you don't want to interfere, just ignore it. There's no need for you to interfere in our matters. Wan Qingshan didn't expect Qin Wentian to be so impudent. Wan Miaoyan also furrowed her brows. At this moment, Qin Wentian stared at the young man. When the Dark North Immortal Mountain opens, there are all sorts of people here. Do you know that many people came from other smaller cities and didn't dare to offend anyone in the royal capital? You are making use of the fear of others to flaunt your might. Very smart. If there are people who were frightened and fainted, wouldn't your next step be to send them away with you? The expression of the young man changed. He stared at Qin Wentian. What are you talking about? Qin Wentian's lips curled up in a cold smile. Abruptly, a cold intent gushed forth as he roared, "Scram!" This voice was like thunder, causing many tables to buzz. The young man's heart pounded violently. He was frightened by Qin Wentian's gaze as his expression turned unsightly. Very well, just wait. The young man stood up, leaving behind a domineering voice. After that, he brought his guards and left, causing everyone to be taken aback. Since when is it your turn to interfere in the matters of my Wan clan? Wan Miaoyan frowned when she saw the young man leaving. If this young man truly had a powerful background, wouldn't her Wan clan be implicated? There's no need for me to interfere. Why didn't you directly accompany them earlier? Qin Wentian stared at Wan Miaoyan as he calmly spoke. Impudent. Wan Miaoyan's voice was extremely cold. But just as she spoke, she discovered that the young man had already retreated back to where they stood. In front of them, a few figures appeared. Everyone, Junior has unintentionally offended all of you. Please forgive me. The young man's expression was extremely complicated as he clasped his hands. Before this, there were already many incidents of beautiful women being harmed in this region. You were the one who did it, right? At this moment, a young man who had been silent all this while calmly spoke, causing the gazes of everyone to turn over. I don't understand what you are talking about. That person naturally denied. It's fine even if you deny it. Since you dared to borrow the name of my Duanmu clan, you should know the ending. The young man calmly spoke. He slowly stood up and turned around. After that, everyone saw a handsome countenance that exuded an extraordinary aura. Young master. Those who forced the young man back bowed in unison, causing the countenance of the fake young man to turn pale. It's really the young master of the Duanmu clan. This time around, the people at the various tables all felt their hearts trembling. Who would have thought that there would be such a coincidence? The fake young master actually encountered the real young master of the Duanmu clan. This was simply a dead end.